Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Children of Primus Frenzy Freestyle Sunday, where this week our special guest will be our very own Fear or Courage. And as usual, we will have our weekly questions that we'll be asking, along with the questions that we've put out on social media. And while we get answers from him, we'll also be going through some of the weekly news within the world of the Transformers, as we've said, more than meets the eye. And what we haven't done, which I know we've been behind on doing, is congratulating and welcoming all of our subscribers, as we've passed the 100 mark, and I believe we are now at 142. So thank you for everyone that has subscribed to our YouTube channel. And thank you to everyone on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, and on Twitch. We thank everyone who's always commenting and enjoying like any of our jokes, our posts, our reviews, and which you can find our weekly reviews at childrenofprimus.com, where every Mondays we have new reviews from figures that have been bought or sent in to Fear of Courage. And he will talk more about that once he is in. So while we are waiting, I'm going to get some of this week's news that Fear can let us know about.
There we go.
There we go. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm having another scramble day.
Every Sunday feels like a scramble. So I know the feeling.
I'm just got everything set up in place. You know, hold on a minute. Where did I put that? I'm just getting everything up on my screen that needs to be on my screen.
Got
You
it.
know?
Which
All right,
I'm
whatever.
doing the
I was
same
going to
as
say,
well.
yeah, I was going to say, I wrote notes for the questions, but I can't find them now, so I'm doing it live.
Yeah, I have a feeling you would have memorized what most of your answers are.
Yeah, basically. So it's not here. Oh, yeah, okay. Now I got it. Anyway, it's just notes anyway. If we're both scrambling, give me 30 seconds to get some water. I'm parched.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure this is gripping television for the masses.
So as Anthony is getting himself ready for this evening's stream, he is our featured guest. So along with asking him a few questions, we'll have a bit of a backstory in terms of how we met and how we got to where we are now. So as he is getting ready,
All right. I have returned. You couldn't hear me, but you were talking about like, oh, we're gonna be telling stories about how this all got started. I was like, oh, interesting, and then I realized I was many meters away and couldn't be picked up.
Cool.
Mm. Ah, that guy again. We showed pictures of him last week.
Yes. Let's see. According to the Cybertron.com Twincast podcast, they talk about the old PlayStation 3 episode where we relived the War of Cybertron.
Hmm. I played it on my brother's 360 at the time. Yeah, I was like, the year was 2010. Gears of War, third-person cover-based shooters, grim, gritty seriousness. Those were all the rage. So that's why this version of Optimus is like Mr. Wide.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never gotten into the. Actually, I think one of the earlier third person fighting games like years ago. I believe it was like Duke Nukem or Doom.
Yeah.
I played like with one of our friends. But since then I've not gotten into those type of games. But I've always heard a lot about the War for Cybertron game, though.
Yeah. I mean, I this one was pretty well. It's pretty well put together. So that's why that's why there's still an audience for figures from it so many years later. You know.
Mm,
Um, and it is part of the same universe as Transformers Prime, so it has some of the backstory that like was alluded to in the show. So
okay,
like there's the episode I think near the end of the first season where they talk about Optimus's backstory and they talk about him getting the Matrix from the core of Cybertron and they show those flashbacks.
okay,
Uh, they don't look the same because the engine is different, but that happens like in the middle of the War for Cybertron game as well because it covers that part of the history.
okay.
Yeah. So it's a little tied together. You don't have to have watched or played one to understand the other, but like it's there if you're interested in seeing that chunk of the story.
Cool. No, and I mean that's a good. That's always a good way still for fans to get into something where it's they don't have to follow a lot of the backstory. They can just jump right in.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean this game, War for Cybertron, it got a sequel because it was so popular, even with like casual Transformers fans, because it just presented itself as looking very Generation One compared to the Prime cartoon. Like it did
Okay.
that on purpose. Like, hypothetically, the Starscream in this game is the same one as the one on the Prime show, but the Starscream in this game was a very Generation 1 looking Starscream instead of the modified design on the show, because, they were trying to appeal to the classic fans more.
Right. Interesting. And I mean in terms of the Prime show, um I ended up being a fan of the animation style in the Prime series. Just
Mm-hmm.
because it seemed like the cross between G1 and the Bayverse, but while still building like solid storylines in each episode and within the entire season and the series. So
Yeah,
it was easy to fall in love with the series.
yeah. Um, if you want to, if you're one of those people that, if you can't track down a copy, which is easy to say today, Thew Adams, the Transformers reviewer, one of the ones I really like.
Hmm.
Uh, he had a channel for a little while called Play Grind because his main channel is Toy Grind, where he played video games. And he did a full playthrough of War for Cybertron, like talking over it because that's what you do during a Let's Play.
Right.
But not in a way that like made it so you couldn't also watch the game. So like, if you want to see it, that's a good way to look at the whole thing just for the story.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other Let's Plays, but that's my preferred one just because Thew's a funny guy. So you know.
All right, and let's jump over to this one. A first look at only Predacon Carry and Rise of the Beast toy line so far, plus mainline Mirage toy.
Yeah, so these are what I was talking about before. These are not studio series. These are the line that are just going to be branded Rise of the Beasts.
Okay, and what was the reason for this?
Um, well, it's believed because the film was delayed, right? It was supposed to come out a while before it actually did.
Okay,
So this stuff was like probably in the can, ready to go. And then they delayed it along with the movie, whereas the studio series stuff took longer to develop. So that's why it's all being released like right now.
okay,
The thinking behind the studio series stuff was they were going to get the collectors later on when they had time to like do screen accurate figures.
Right.
Yeah. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if these guys, something like this guy's in the movie, because people who've been freeze framing the trailer have been like, it looks like there's like weird scorpion enemies in the big crowd fight at the end.
Interesting. I didn't because I have seen the people like doing the freeze frames to pick up
Yeah,
on the characters. I didn't realize that the conversation was about the scorpion type characters.
yeah. So people think this is going to be the disposable soldier that's going to appear for them to, cut down in swaths.
Okay.
Might be wrong, but that's the speculation.
Actually, it almost seems in the recent years that the Scorponok type of characters end up being the disposable characters,
Yeah,
where
because
they
they did.
did. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, they did that on the Kingdom show as well.
Yes, and also in one of the Bayverse movies, um, he was just kind of a background character that came in the desert, and then I
Yeah,
don't think was seen again.
yeah. Well, he showed up for like 30 seconds in Revenge of the Fallen and then got stepped on. So
Yep.
yeah, so might be wrong. That guy's probably going to be the generic disposable guy in the new movie.
Okay.
And they showed some other stuff too. It's basically just like a bunch of the main cast, but like in a line that's a little bit less movie accurate and a little more simple, even though they're
Right.
still like normal deluxes and stuff.
Okay. And let's jump over here. We have Transformers Legacy Wave 5 Voyager and Rise of the Beast Studio Series Core Deluxe and Voyager out in Canada.
Ah, some of that's true. I mean, I got a Core RC here that I showed the other week, so that I found that on in stores. Yeah, I haven't seen any of the recent Legacy stuff though, but you know, distribution being what it is, you're better off looking online.
This is true because looking at this image, like any time I go into Walmart and I think, let me just walk through the aisle to see what's there. And this
Yeah,
is exactly how the Transformers aisle or section of the aisle has looked for the last however many years.
yeah. I try not to. I try not to gross about it too much these days because I'm like, if there's something I'm really, really after,
Hmm.
uh, grab it online, either on GameStop or maybe on Amazon. I try not to give Jeff Bezos too much of my money these days, but
Yep.
everywhere else first. And then if it's something I'm maybe like not sure if I'm interested or not, that's when I'm like, if I stumble across it in the wild, maybe.
Hmm. And I mean, for the fact, like, I'm not a collector of the newer figures, maybe like the odd one here or there, like Slug, um,
Yeah,
many months ago. But just to kind of see what's happening, in the aisles, and surprisingly, when they mentioned the one um space shuttle figure that was discontinued, and
yeah,
and I always recall seeing that figure always on the shelf,
yeah,
but then seeing a lot of comments in the States where people are saying we've never seen that figure in our stores, and I'm like, we've got a ton of them sitting here.
yeah. I checked back at the Walmart I usually go to for this stuff. It's the one that I kept seeing is not there anymore. So I guess the word got out that they have them in Canada. I
Yeah.
wasn't even I wasn't interested in it, but like I said, like our guest last week had been looking for it, and I knew a couple other people, so I thought maybe I'd go pick it up and be like, "Hey, does anybody want this?" But it's already
E-
gone.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
there's a positive side of it where you have those the fans where it's like, okay, I see a few of them, let me grab them and I'll help others get them. But of course, there's the other side of fans who are like, oh, well, now that everybody's looking for this, I'll sell it at whatever price I want because you have no choice but to buy it from me.
yeah. I don't see a lot of that these days. I try not to be that. I know it exists, but I'm like, come
Right.
on, man.
Well, and I mean to tie in from our guest 2 weeks ago of Jonathan, who has the ToyFax
Hmm.
app that's available on iOS and I believe on Android.
Yeah.
We came across a Facebook page, a Facebook and Instagram listing. Hey, Toy Warp, how's it going?
Hello, Toy Warp. How you doing?
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
evening.
Always great to join Chol and the Primus for another podcast.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for being with us.
yeah. We're just doing the
Absolutely. This is always fun.
yeah, we're just doing the news roundup.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was just mentioning on Instagram, I believe. It was either Facebook or Instagram, but someone had posted one of the Dinobots, I believe, Grimlock, for like $300-400
Jesus,
on
like which one? The little one or like the big one?
the big one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for like three or
Like
four
that's
hundred.
better.
Exactly. And I contacted Jonathan and I'm like, hey, look what's going on. And he said, well, people could sell Grimlock for whatever price they want, but if you go through his app, I believe the highest pricing he had for his was between 170 to 180.
Still kind of not great.
Not great, but not at least you get a chance to still get it for 180 as opposed to people trying to sell it for like $400 or $500.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
Grimlock are we talking about?
Um,
Studio Series 86, the big leader one.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it just got. Maybe this will be in the news hopper later. They are doing this probably will not satiate people's desire for the original, but they're doing a repaint of it in this new Generation 2 unreleased line of stuff that just got unveiled to come out in Walmart. But it's going to be yellow and blue and tiger striped because it's based on his canceled Generation 2 deco. So that's why I'm like,
Tiger
maybe
Stripe.
people won't be. Yeah. Calvin Carpenter said I posted it. Yeah. Yeah. So this came out this week and it's up for pre-order. It's another little Walmart exclusive subline of figures, and they're being branded as Generation 2, but what the real thing is they're all based on canceled stuff, mostly from Generation 2, some from other lines. So there's a Studio Series Jazz, but he's like bright orange because there was going to be a second Generation 2 figure of him that was bright orange that got canceled.
Mhm.
There's another new Seeker. I think its name's called Cloud Cover. It's
Okay.
a light blue ramjet type, not a dark blue like Dirge.
Okay. And I
Yeah,
seen the images of that orange jazz, and it almost seems a bit too orange. Like it's
yeah,
almost like every piece of jazz is just orange.
yeah. And the big leader class one they're doing is not from G2. It's a character called Toxitron, and it's Laser Optimus Prime in like '90s green and purple radioactive sludge colors. Yeah, and see, our website did that thing again. That's a photo from a review of mine instead of the one that they're actually talking about. Yeah,
Okay, here
there
we
we
go.
go. And that's the other thing they've unveiled. They're doing more of those retro series guys. Animation Colors Generation 1 Thundercracker and Animation Colors Generation 1 Hound, which we saw leaked many weeks ago. Those are up
Yes.
for order too.
The Hound one really confused me because the coloring isn't that far off of the original.
Yeah,
It,
you know
it,
what it
it
is?
wasn't like the cartoon or the cartoon of the movie had him as a different color as a toy.
Yeah, I think the novelty is that it's been a long time since there was a Hound reissue. Most of these other guys that we're seeing here, they've gone through the reissue ringer a few times recently, but like there hasn't been a Hound since I think the mid 2000s. Like so it's legitimately just a chance to get that Generation 1 reissue again.
Okay. And I know
Plus
the one.
these guys don't have any stickers, which is a plus.
Okay. Because the one thing I did notice with the Hound is any parts that are chrome are kind of like that light gray, that they're lightish gray, kind of the same thing they did with the recent Hot Rod, where instead of chrome they did the
Yeah,
light
that
gray.
Yeah, that's my only knock against this stuff. Generally, I like what they're doing, but the changing it to flat gray to make it look kind of cartoonish, I'm not a big fan of that. But it doesn't kill the whole thing for me.
Hmm. As Calvin said, they should have gave him a different headpiece for Toxitron.
Well, the original, the one that was going to be released and was canceled, was just a straight Laser Optimus repaint. So him having the same head makes sense, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. Because like I said when I reviewed Night Prowler, who it was like a notorious shelf warmer. Yeah, there they are. These are the guys I was talking about.
There they are.
Yeah. Uh, people didn't buy that, and I'm like, these guys were canceled back in the day for like a reason. They didn't think they would sell, right? So there's a question: is will the allure of having this stuff that you couldn't get back in the day cancel out the fact that they're kind of weird looking and maybe kind of a hard sell for people?
Hmm.
They're not
I mean,
pretty.
I'm sure people. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure people are probably going to want a new Seeker character because those are always popular, and that's not a bad looking deco. But everything else, that's iffy.
It'll be interesting to find out how many Seeker characters exist in terms of repaints, color variation, because you could have an unlimited amount of Seekers depending how many colors you just keep changing them up with.
Yeah. There's a page on the Transformers wiki that tracks them all, including like the color schemes that don't have names or anything that have just appeared in the background, and there is like a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that character is called Cloud Cover. Like they just made up a new guy because this was like a test shot that people saw that was going to be come out in Generation 2, and it never had a name attached to it. So they're just dubbing the character Cloud Cover to release him in this line.
Of course. And let's see, our last one, or actually second last one.
Oh yeah, this is from Sabertron.com. These are the guys to go to, and if you want pictures of figures, because they have the most extensive galleries I've ever seen. But the last few years they've not been great about keeping up with new stuff. It's like this is an old set from like 2010 or so. That was sold on BigBadToyStore.com and like shelf warmed for a while. So it's kind of interesting that they're pulling this out and doing a gallery of it.
I wonder if they've pulled it out for the fact in the last, I would say maybe in the last few years, people are slowly starting to remember the Siakonza and Piranacon because a lot of people would be like, I've never seen this character. I'm like, he came out in '87, but just because the cartoon ended, a lot of people like have no idea who he is. But now that people know of him, that's probably why they're trying to push him on, on the market again.
Yeah. He didn't even have a big role in the Marvel comic. He was only in a few issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I barely remember him in the comic.
Yeah. I just read that comic this year, so I can speak to that.
I'll be honest, I didn't know who the heck he was until mid 2000s, and I picked up a large lot, and I found looking at him, what the heck is this thing? You tell me GoBots? I want my money back now.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you watched Master Force, when it was released a few years ago, he was a big important bad guy in that. But that's just because they were still making cartoons, so in Japan. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the interesting way they handled him in Japan was the team leader there, Snaptrap. He was the only like sentient guy. All of his arms and legs were drones, and there was like a whole army of them. So they were like the cannon fodder troops.
Interesting.
So he just need to get one of each to combine into his big form.
And the one thing that someone had reminded me of, that he's the only combiner who's also a target master.
Yeah, because instead of being 5 guys, he's 6 guys, and whichever one is not being an arm or a leg changes into a gun there. You can see in the box there, the fish has got with his face facing up there. That's he's in gun configuration.
Which is interesting, because I had him when he came out in '87. That configuration is kind of the best one to do for. Oh, sorry, the gun, the 6th member that turns into the gun. That one is the best one to do it with. It doesn't quite work with the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I heard it was kind of a not the most stable combiner, but yeah, I don't know. I've never handled one.
Actually, he was pretty stable. I find Superion is the weakest out of all combiners, and then Devastator, between Long Haul and Hook, slightly gets loose, but Piranacon was always stable in terms of like standing him and just not having issues with him.
Oh,
that's weird. I always thought Devastator was a little top heavy. He's kind of hard to stand up sometimes.
You'll see a few people who have the Devastator, and it's like they kind of have him leaning slightly against like the wall or something, just so he doesn't tip over.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's an understatement.
And our last piece of news before we get into our main topic.
Yeah, I was just talking about like out of that big lot of stuff that Bill sent me. This was like the surprise find, so I had to like stop covering the new stuff that I was covering and like do a write up of this guy, Beast Machines Cheetor from the year 2000. I got this guy when I was a kid. He was a favorite of mine. It got broken and eventually sold off, so I'm glad to have like a fresh one again. So I had to look at the whole thing. It's a very weird figure, and I talk about how weird it is in the write-up here, but like, it's kind of weird in an appealing way. Bad decision to make a large chunk of him out of chrome, because you're never going to find one that doesn't have the chrome chipped. Yeah. Ridiculously tall figure because of his weird long alien legs. Just goes forever. Like, he's almost like leader class in terms of height. Got the sword you can swing around. Surprisingly solid and stable despite being such a lanky guy. Just see more in the review there if you want to look at what Transformers at the turn of the millennium was like, basically,
Cool. So just before we get into our main topic, Toy Warp, how are you doing?
Oh, I have no complaints. I live in paradise. We had a cold day today. It was actually like 63 degrees. So
cool. And welcome, Jonathan.
What's up, brothers?
We're good. Actually, Jonathan, have you met Toy Warp?
I have not, but I'm a fan of his work.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. As he steps away for a moment.
It's because you said he didn't hear the back half. He's like, I am not. And then he just have not. He just.
I know, right?
I am so sorry. I did not mean to be rude, but the microphone did the mute thing again. I'm so sorry.
No, that was funny. I like that.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I saw him once. That's good. Once was enough. Yeah.
Professor D's saying Mega Cheetor looks whack. Like, I'm not even. He is weird, and that's the appeal to me. That's what I talk about when I do the write up. I'm just saying, Bill. This is probably this was the surprise find of the box, because I had this guy when I was a kid in the year 2000, and then I immediately gave him a write up because everything's here and he's in great shape. So that was like the surprise bit of gold that I struck out of the box, Yeah, and you just in perfect shape, and I'm like, I had this guy when I was a kid, so.
Is that an MP?
How do you enjoy it?
Yeah. No, this is just a regular mainline figure from 2000. It was a Mega Class right at the start of Beast Machines.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like these things were covered in chrome, and chrome like this doesn't last. There's a rat trap in that box too that's all the chrome's coming off, because that's like that comes with the territory. So finding one where this was mostly intact is like, that's the real difficult thing.
Where the chrome is it plastic under the chrome or is it metal?
It is plastic underneath the chrome.
Okay. Testers makes a paint marker that's chrome. It looks pretty darn good if you want to touch it up.
That's probably be a good idea. Like, it's doing good now, but as like insurance, I said testers. Send me a link after that. I got Gundam markers already to fix regular paint. I'll get something to fix chrome paint too.
Nice.
Yeah, as long as it's plastic, it doesn't stick too good to the metal, but as long as it's plastic, it'll do a pretty good job.
Yeah. Where's the rat trap here? Let me demonstrate. Yeah, here it is.
My audio is a little off.
Yeah. But yeah, so you can see right here, all the chrome on this guy's coming off. This is normal. This is just a consequence of the way they built these things. They don't do that these days. But like most transmetals look like this, so this is very average. This is one of the reasons why everybody wants them to get updates in Legacy, because they want versions that aren't painted that way. And Professor D says, "Oh, I missed he was from Bill's box. Mega Cheetor looks great."
Professor D, pick a side.
In other news, what I got?
was that? Oh, the thing that I was looking for.
Oh gosh, yes.
The bizarre prototype Unicron, which I think is just a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I went to the Super 7 store today because we have one in San Francisco. So
Yeah. So is that
I
like
went
a
down there.
6-inch guy?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I have a little movie display over there, and I'm like, I could stick that right in the back of it, and it would be the exact right height to just be the Unicron in that display, even if it looks weird because of its design.
Yeah, he just looks unhealthy as hell.
Yeah.
Like he has
Too many
gout,
Cheetos, Unicron. Too many Cheetos.
right?
Well, this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier with that Generation 2 line they're doing. Like, that's what the Generation 1 Unicron was going to look like. They saw that and they said, well, we're just going to cancel it. But
Yeah.
because we can't have it, it became in demand. So they're doing stuff like this now that references that weird-looking toy that never came out because it was too weird-looking.
Yeah, I mean, who wants Unicron with a fupa? What? Zero.
I think people said, like, it's an accurate version of what Orson Welles looked like at the time when he was doing Unicron's voice.
That's why I
I
said he
love
looked like his voice actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so mean.
That's not okay.
He was plush.
Yeah. He lived an extravagant life, and his appearance reflected that. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
He was eating too many heavy calorie planets, is what it was.
Yeah.
How'd he say it? I guess he came home after doing the voice acting work and said to his wife, "I just voiced a character in a movie that's bad robots doing horrible things to other bad robots."
Yeah, he was like a legendary hater, though. He was just always complaining about like every role he had. So that's hardly special. Professor D says, if you die at his whole planets, you probably ain't gonna have the trimmest figure.
Fair enough.
What was really funny too is my buddies had me watch the History of the World Part 1 recently, and Orson Welles does the voiceover in that too, and
Yeah.
it's not quite, but I mean I could close my eyes and listen and almost hear Unicron.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because they bass boosted all of his lines when they processed it for the movie, so that's one reason why it would sound different.
I wonder how Barry White would have done his Unicron.
You know, Barry White as Unicron would be like Bruticus in season 3, where he just all of a sudden seems to have this overly sexy voice, and at that point you couldn't take Unicron serious. And I'm like, are you hitting on Galvatron? Are you trying to take him out?
Fair enough point.
I'm really picturing. What's the name of the Barry White song? You know, I can't get enough of your love, baby. Is that the name of the song? I'm just every time Unicron appears, instead of Unicron's theme, like the beginning strings from that song play instead. You know,
Can you imagine in the original soundtrack, listening to it, like track 3 is a Barry White song.
Yeah,
I think I need to make an edit.
yeah.
Yes, keep an eye on Jonathan, because me and him have our shorts challenges. So I see the wheels are spinning there.
Mine's is very dark humor, so yeah. Muffin ears for children.
Cool. So as we get into our main topic for the evening, our featured guest for this evening is Anthony, also known as Fear of Courage. We realize, we're featuring everyone, but Anthony is also very extensively knowledged in the Transformers, has a big collection, and he's also the writer that does our weekly reviews of all the figures that you see on our website, childrenofprimus.com.
I could have something useful in my head like math or science, but instead I know everything about this stuff. So I write it as a way to get it out of my head.
There you go.
We're thankful for that hit.
Yeah.
So I guess where, as we ask everyone, where can people find you?
Mostly on Twitter. Like I am on Instagram, but like I'm not a big Instagram user. My ad is @orcourage. I think Fear or Courage was taken when I got Twitter a million years ago, so it's just or Courage. Um, Mostly I just retweet stuff, but I post all my stuff there as it comes out, and occasionally other stuff. But yeah, that's my main social media haunt. And also, obviously, Children of Primus itself is where I post my reviews once a week, twice a week if I've got something else to talk about too. Uh, childrenofprimus.com/news and reviews. I'm around other places, but like that's where you can mostly find me.
Cool. So as we ask everyone, so our top question is always, what made you get into Transformers?
Yeah. Well, I said it before, but like, I think maybe one of the reasons why I think of it as a bunch of stories instead of a bunch of figures first is because I started out just like watching reruns of Generation 2 on TV in the like early mid 90s before I went to school. I don't know what network had it on, but it would be this cartoon called Bonkers, which was about a cat that was a police officer, and then Bobby's World, which was the Howie Mandel show where he played a little kid version of himself, and then Transformers Generation 2 would come on third, and that would be the last show before I went to school. And so, I watched basically most of the first two seasons. I wanted to get figures from that. I always bring out the G2 hubcap here, which was my mom got this for me at one point. It was my first figure. I had a few others. I had a big Laser Optimus Prime, Windbreaker over here. And, yeah, that was one of the many things I was interested in. And then a couple years later, they came out with Beast Wars, and that's what sort of kept me going instead of it just being like another interest, because, now there was continuity to this. And, that I started getting online at that point. Beast Wars was big with me. Beast Machines was big. And then during the anime years, I kind of faded out of it. Also, because like I was a teenager, and I was attempting to throw away childish things. Also, I didn't have any money, so this was past the point where people were going to buy things for me.
Attempting to throw away childish things. How'd that work out for you, by the way?
Yeah. And then 2007, the first Bay movie comes out. I go see it, and I'm immediately back into things. And around the same time, the first few volumes of the IDW comics were on shelves in trade form. This is the first one. Simon Furman's Infiltration, very good story. And
Yes.
animated was on the TV, and Classics and Universe were on the shelves, and I was immediately like, I guess this is my life again. And here I am now.
Nice. And I mean, all of us, well, all of us have our similar stories, just like yourself. And there is that time you kind of branch away from the the Transformers realm, and then just slowly kind of get back into it again.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that was probably good because, like, something I always say is, oh, hi, Stephen Bach. Well, I mean, I say that sometimes too, but, like, at the time, nothing that was being put out was anything I was really into, like, on the figure side, on the fiction side. If I could read comics back then, because I didn't really have access to them, I might have stayed in it, but I was just like, there's nothing for me here. I'm going to pursue other interests. And then many years later, when it had changed into something I was interested in again, I came back, and I'm like, that's probably a good way to engage with this stuff, If you don't like it, go do something else for a while, and then maybe it'll eventually change back into something you like again.
This is true. Well, actually, before I jump into the next question, I'm gonna say, any of the rest of our guests, do you have questions for Anthony?
I got one.
Alrighty. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, what is your toy of the year so far?
Hasn't been long into 2023.
It's Mega G-Lord, damn it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, if we're not counting new stuff, it's probably this guy. Because I'm like, hey, return to childhood, that's always worth something. Gosh, I'm like, what's come out so far? Let me look at what I've written.
Hot Rod.
Oh, yeah, is that a 2023 thing? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, definitely retro Hot Rod then. I always keep bringing this guy out, but I'm like, the Generation 1 figure was already really fun. They put this guy out in cartoon accurate colors. Something I forgot to mention was there was a period there in the 2000s, around like the Beast Machines era, where I was compulsively renting the animated movie from the video store. So that was another big thing. So that's why I like animation colors Hot Rod so much.
Yeah, I got
So
one
yeah, I
coming
think
in the
that's
mail.
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite thing of 2023 so far.
Nice.
All right, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
All the storylines from all the different lines, all the different iterations. What is your favorite storyline from any of the iterations of the stories?
Ooh, the stuff that happened, which I don't want to spoil too much because everybody should watch it. The stuff that happened in the back end of the second season of Beast Wars. It ends with a three-parter called The Agenda, and that's just some of the best storytelling in the franchise because a bunch of unexpected things happen, a bunch of stuff pays off. There's a very unexpected Generation 1 connection, and it ends on like a cliffhanger that I was online at the time, like on message boards and things, that had the internet losing its mind. So, the Transformers internet. So, yeah, back half of the second season of Beast Wars, that's like the best chunk of story to me. So that's why I'm always like, everybody should watch it. Stick around for the second season because it goes nuts. Like they had half of the episodes, but they had more budget, and they decided to do it completely serialized instead of one off. So it really reached like a surprising apex towards the end. And if anybody in the comments knows, don't say nothing because people should watch it.
Interesting. I was never a fan of Beast Wars. I think I've made that clear before. But now you kind of got me wanting to watch it now. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I will say, and this is not the point of those episodes, but Russian Ravage there, who I constantly bring up, he shows up, and that's the initial incident that starts it all happening.
Oh, he actually makes it into the cartoon?
Yeah. And it is Generation 1 Ravage, unlike the rest of the cast, which are just new characters. And, he comes there and he says, this version of Megatron, our government does not sanction his actions. I'm going to work with the good guys to take him out and bring him in, because he's not authorized, I served the original Megatron and not this guy. And that's how it starts. That's not how it ends. A bunch of other stuff happens, but this is the initial incident. Generation 1 Ravage showing up.
Oh, I always thought he was a new character.
No, most of them are. Like, the Megatron is not the same Megatron. He's a new guy with the same name, like in Kingdom.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, Ravage shows up. There's a few other Generation 1 characters that do show up during Beast Wars in one form or another, so it is very much... It starts out not emphasizing that very much because they wanted to bring in, like, a new audience of kids. But, like, as the show goes on, the connections start to show themselves and they start to run deeper.
Interesting.
So that G2 hubcap that you got, is that the actual one you had as a kid, or have you just replaced it?
No, I had to replace it. I don't know where the original went. Windbreaker here is the only one that I still got from my childhood. I got this guy at TFCon one year. I mean, if I could find the original, sure, I'd gladly have two of them, but I don't know where it got to.
What is Hubcap? Like a different paint of Cliff Jumper?
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a retool of Cliff Jumper. He's got a new head, and they changed the spoiler on his truck mode. And there was a Generation 1 Hubcap who was yellow, and they re-released him in Generation 2 along with a bunch of other mini-bots. They painted him metallic red, like they did Bumblebee, Beachcomber, Sea Spray in metallic colors. And then for some reason, this guy, even though he was like a D-lister compared to the other three. Yeah, and Calvin Carpenter says, I keep telling you, everyone to watch Beast Wars because it's a part of G1. It's true.
What else outside of going to the spaceship when they crashed?
Spoilers, dude. Don't clarify that for people.
I think that's everybody who knows that part. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, why are we worried about spoilers for something that's 30 years old?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know, and I'm like, I want people to watch it. Maybe I just want people to experience what it was like in like 96, 97 when all this first happened, and everybody was like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I remember the penny racers. Huh.
yeah,
I've got a whole bunch of the penny racers. They're actually Takara product.
yeah, yeah.
Though they're kind of silly expensive anymore.
Oh, that's disappointing. I wonder, would these mini bots that were supposed to look like them be cheaper than the actual penny racers these days?
Well, how much is a penny racer going for?
It depends on what model it is. If it's one of the ones that people associate with Transformers, then yeah, you're looking to spend $30-$40 a piece.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're probably neck and neck then. Like one of because G1 hubcap. Last time I saw him at TFCon, he was like $70 for like a mint condition one. So maybe it's about neck and neck.
Yeah, I'll have to add those to the site. I totally forgot to do that.
Oh, and Stephen Bach says, if you like Beast Wars and G2 toys, then Beast Wars 2nd is like having your childhood toys animated. Oh, I still need to watch that. I need time to watch that. That's the anime that Takara ran around the same time as the Beast Wars show was here in the US. And like it only got fan subbed a couple years ago, so nobody's seen it until recently, unless you spoke Japanese or you didn't care that you couldn't understand what was happening on screen. Yeah, but you can watch it now, and I kind of want to, because that's the show that Leo Prime comes from, and people only like him because on the strength of his design, because nobody until a couple years ago had ever actually seen the show he was from, because it was only in Japanese.
Got it.
Mm.
People are just like, cool Optimus-looking lion. I don't know what he's from, but, we're going to sustain his popularity purely off of how strong of a design he is.
Are you guys seeing Leo Prime in your areas?
No. You can get him online, though.
He's starting to shelf warm out here.
Wow.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I haven't watched Beast Wars the second. I can't comment. Maybe people have actually watched the show and been like, "Oh, this is not good. Now I don't want this figure."
Could be.
Wow.
I don't know. It looks pretty good. It's got that really good '90s anime look to it if you're into that. So because it is a '90s anime.
Right.
All right, Anthony, you love the show so much. Tell us where to find it.
YouTube. Are you talking about Beast Wars or Beast Wars Second?
Beast Wars.
Well, okay. Right now on the Hasbro YouTube channel, they are very slowly uploading episodes officially. I believe it's also available for free on Tubi. Outside of that, Shout Factory does DVD sets if you're willing to spend money on it. I have the older Rhino sets myself, but I hear the Shout sets are nicer. And yeah, those are the places where you can watch it mainly.
Stephen Bach says a lot of G2 and Beast Wars no-show toy molds are characters in Beast Wars 2.
Yeah. That was kind of the appeal, because, Beast Wars had a ton of figures that weren't on the show, because the show just picked 10 guys, because they didn't have the budget for more because of CGI. So Takara was like, we're going to make an entire second show, and most of the cast is going to be made up of the figures that weren't on the first show. Which was not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's on Tubi. Beast Wars.
Yeah, alright, excellent. There you go. Everybody can watch it for free.
And Beast Machines.
Yeah, the sequel series. And I would like to say the CGI does get better as it goes along. The animators were breaking ground as they went, so they did say that there were whole episodes they'd write in the later seasons purely because they could do a thing now that they couldn't do before with the animation. They did a couple episodes that took place underwater because they could finally do good-looking water effects. They did an episode set in a foggy jungle because they were like, we can do good fog now. So it improves as it goes.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel the CGI use was too early? Should they have waited a couple of years to do it?
I mean, it did really well, so it seems to have paid off. I will say one thing about it that I think has made it age better and maybe makes it work despite the age was the animators really worked hard to make the characters very expressive and emotive, and I think that's what makes it watchable compared to a lot of other bad CGI. There's no, stiff wooden robot people. they gave everybody's like faces tons of rigging and made sure that they could emote and be characters, and I think that helps break through any graphical shortcomings it might have.
So let me piggyback off that question then. Is there a lot of animated errors like we have in G1?
A lot of what?
Animated errors?
Animation errors?
Yeah.
Sort of. Uh, Probably fewer in Beast Wars, but the ones that happen in Beast Wars sometimes would be different than what you'd see in a Generation 1 cartoon. Like an animation error in Beast Wars would be like, in this shot you can see somebody's like shoulder clipping through the environment, or for 5 seconds in the background you can see they forgot to texture the stripes on Waspinator. That happened one time. So, stuff
Also,
like that.
like today's video games. Yeah.
Yeah, no, literally, like the kinds of bugs you might see in video games, but where like something they forgot to texture somebody in the background, or if you look, you can see somebody's floating slightly above the ground. But it wasn't very common. They were pretty good about catching that stuff, but it did sometimes happen.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think probably the most frequent error would be like somebody's shoulder wings or whatever clipped through their body when they made a gesture.
No. They probably caught it, but just didn't have time to change it.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing with CGI. It's a little bit. It's hard to redo cell animation. It's even harder to redo CGI.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, that time and budget. Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah. But like I said, to be fair, they're decent. They were decent about catching it. It is very much like I'd say errors are less common in the Generation 1 cartoon. I've watched both in recent years, so.
Cool. Comment says, "Have Beast Wars Neo cartoon is awesome."
Yeah, I'd love to watch that too. They made a second one after Beast Wars Second, another anime. That's what Big Convoy, the Mastodon robot's from. Yeah, and Stephen Bach says, I said it before and I'll say it again. Leo Convoy fights a combiner one-on-one and holds his own. Yeah, I heard that was cool. Yeah, they got a movie in Japan, a Beast Wars the second movie that only aired over there. That's an example of how popular it was. I'm just rambling because I'm responding to these comments as they keep showing up.
So, the Beast Wars first season was 26 episodes?
Yeah. And the second and third seasons were both shorter.
Damn, that was $18 million to do that. And
Yeah.
700K per episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they put money into that at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, this is why they were like, we can only pick 10 characters. This is all we have money for. We're not going to do everybody in the line. And they were like, the story editors would be like, the golden rule was no new character models. Like if somebody doesn't have an action figure and something shows up, you got to make it a kit bash of something we already have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it almost became like a Star Trek production or a science fiction production where they were like they would reuse props and sets and whatever whenever they had them, so they wouldn't have to render something new. Well, but it generally worked. But it'd just be like a funny bonus if you noticed that something was from another episode and just like painted differently and made bigger and flipped over.
Well, that's pretty generous for a cartoon. I've never heard nobody spending that much on a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Especially back then. That's insane. Maybe today, sure, but back then, wow.
Yeah.
There is an episode.
The movie that went to theaters in '86 was only $6 million. Yeah.
Well, it paid off because it was a popular show. There's an episode in the second season. It's called Code of Hero. Don't spoil it in the comments if you know what that one is. It won an Emmy, so it's an Emmy award-winning show. So.
Whoa.
That's a detail I didn't know.
That must mean Transformers C Minor was made about $90.
Yeah. Like there's more budget in Optimus Primal's eyebrow than the entirety of Carnage in C Minor.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, that stuff was cutting edge for the time, So, and it did get better as it went along.
Cool. So as we jump back into our questions, a question for you, Anthony. How many figures do you estimate that you own?
I did a count before the episode started because I was like, I want an answer. I was a quick count, but I'm estimating around 245.
Ooh.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
I would.
You know what it is? I buy things and then I sell things. Like usually when convention season comes around, um, so it like gets big and then it gets small. But yeah, I said it to my fiance Jess, and she was like, "I thought you had more than that." And I was like, "No,
I
I
would
did the
assume.
count."
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that like I have reviews of on the blog that I don't have anymore because TFCon comes around. I'm like, all right, let's start reducing these shelves and thinning it out, and eventually getting new stuff. But you know,
So where do you sell your stuff off at?
mostly at conventions. I haven't been very active this year because the last TFCon we went to, I got cleaned out because I guess people were hungry for robots, you know, after not having proper TFCons in such a while. So
Yeah.
usually this time I'd have gone to a few by this point, but I'm pretty much just waiting for the next TFCon Toronto in the summer to sell some stuff again. Yeah, I usually get a table or two, and you know what we'll plug Children of Primus while we're there, and I do this thing where I buy comic book boards and comic book bags, and if a figure can fit in there, I stick it in one of those and seal it up so it looks kind of like it's blister packed, and just lay them out in long boxes and on the table, and you know stick the price tags on, and you know there we go. Almost everything I sell is loose because you know, but it does pretty well. So.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah, Calvin Carpenter says 245 is an awesome start. How do I tell him I've been doing this since 2007?
Yeah, I'm 2018.
Yeah, you're 20. Yeah, what did you say you thought you were at last time? It was something. It was more than me.
I'm around probably around that. Not just
Oh,
the
okay.
Transform, but I got other stuff, Voltrons, GI Joes,
Yeah.
and stuff, Turbo Man.
Oh yeah, I wasn't counting like non-Transformer stuff like over here, but that's not a significant amount of stuff, so I don't think
Oh,
I
well,
would
then
the
I'm-
numbers too much.
I'm probably roughly around about 100, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could imagine the numbers for Bill and Toy Warp.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, about
that's
the only
not-
thing I have more of than Transformers would be Matchbox Hot Wheels cars.
oh
But,
yeah, no.
Your guest last week, I remember him saying he had like 2,000. I think I've only got probably around 1,000 to 1,100 Matchbox Hot Wheels cars, you know, between loose and carded.
Well, I
So-
know
I need to have
those
a
are-
conversation with you, Toy Warp. I have some questions later on.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
I like to imagine it's easier to store those Matchbox things than it is to store these robots here.
Well,
You
luckily, I
have to
can
live-
store
you
most
have
of
to
it inside the
live
cage.
around the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got a question for everybody. What's in the mail? What's coming to your house? Toys. What you got coming?
Oh, shit.
See,
I
good,
have.
good thing you specified toys. 'Cause I would say just bills come to my house in the mail.
The fun stuff.
I meant to let Orlotti know. Tarn is up on Amazon Canada, so if anybody's still looking for him, like you can get it there. I haven't hit order on it yet, but I think that's going to be the next thing I grab because you know good luck
Yeah,
finding him in
so,
stores.
Y'all can't get BBTS up there, can you? You can't get Big Bad Toy Store?
Like many things, like Hasbro Pulse, for example, we can, but the shipping is nuts and makes it not worth it.
Yep.
So you know, I mean, like we can order ages 3 and up as a Canadian one. So if Canadians are looking for like a specialty store, that's a good one to do in Canada because they're out in Vancouver, so you don't get hit by like import fees when you're ordering from there.
Like I said, I ordered from them a few times, and it's not been that bad. Maybe like $17.
Yeah.
But then again, like I'm adjacent to them, so I'm right down the road.
Yeah.
Although I'm in America. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder because I'm on the other side of the country, but they got to cross a border for you. So I wonder which one like equals more money.
It was pretty fair to me.
All right, so what's pre-ordered coming to my house? Transformers Masterpiece MP57 Aviation Defense Skyfire.
That
Oh.
sounds like a
Should be
football
here.
play.
It's wicked.
Oh, so it's like
Nice.
the giant version of the Siege guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Legacy Deluxe Shrapnel,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine's just sent.
Yes.
Mine just ordered.
Legacy Selects Titan Guardian Robot.
Oh boy, that thing. The big
That's the
blue.
big blue
Yeah.
Mega Supreme. Master X MX41 Ground Bite. That's a new MP size Constructicons is starting out, and they're starting out with Scrapper.
Nice.
And then the Studio Series 8619 liter Dinobot Snarl.
Yeah, nice. This is why Grimlock costs so much, because people are starting to realize that they're doing the whole team. So like the ones at the very beginning, the people that are getting FOMO over it are after them, right? So that's
But
why.
my prediction, Swoop will cost more than all of them.
Yeah, because he's
Yes.
the last one, right? People want
Yep.
to finish the set. See, I'd just like to point out, I'm going small. I now have the first two of the combining guys, Sludge and Snarl, and I'm like, Grimlock will be coming in from GameStop when he's out. Then Swoop and the new ones, Scar, are just been unveiled, and these are going to be way less time consuming, way less money consuming, way less space consuming for me to get, and they combine.
Yeah. I definitely got the one you need.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you guys get this one?
Oh, Origin Jazz, he's not up here yet. But like I said,
No.
Toys R Us carries these guys in Canada, so I'm anticipating they're going to have a boatload of him because they always do.
This is my figure of the year so far.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm waiting patiently. I've got them pre-ordered from Target. We'll see what happens.
I'm a box collector. I opened this one.
Yeah, because I was going to say Origin Bumblebee was really good. Like I have him over there, even by the standards of Bumblebee figures, right? So if the Origin Jazz turns out just as good as he does, that's a good
hot.
pedigree to follow.
Even feels good in the hand. It's a really solid robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that I'm happy that, like I said, I buy my stuff in multiples. And I've had a lot of offers for these three bots I'm fixing to lift up here, but I had two more of each of these.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really? Yeah, they reissued him on a Big Bad. He's available now.
Yeah, Grimlock. See, everybody wants him now because they're like, oh, I should have started now that they're doing all the Dinobots.
Man, this is the one that's blowing my mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
Motormaster, yeah.
Well, I got word that they discontinued him, so he is about to go up.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that is true.
There's a rumor that apparently this Generation 2 line I was talking about at the start of the show, Shadow Strip from Velocitron's going to get reissued in it to get it back out there, and they're possibly doing another one of the Stunticons, so people think they might be slow releasing Generation 2 repaints of the whole thing, which if possible means
definitely.
crazy colored Motormaster down the line,
How much does that Motormaster go for?
Sorry, go for around 125 right now.
Oh, jeez. I had a chance
That's
to buy
American
one a
money.
couple weeks ago for like $40.
Wow.
I think he's higher than
climbed
that.
all over it. Yeah, I've seen him go for $100 open, no box, just the bot.
I
Did you
jeez,
get
I don't
the
do
messages that I sent to Spin about the new G2s that are coming out? That were
You know what? I didn't get a chance to send them to him yet.
But if you're talking about the G2 line, I talked about it at the top of the hour because I definitely saw it.
No,
So
Magnus, he's climbing.
There were some really good pictures. One of the guys at Transformers Liberated is actually on that design team. And so when things get leaked, as soon as they get leaked, he sends them to us.
Ooh,
And I don't know if he's the one that's actually leaking it. But
that might be. I follow the leakers on Discord, and there's a big wonder about who knows who. It's this complicated web.
he's one of the people that's on Transformers Liberated whose name is like mine, Mr. Magnus or something. It's not his real name.
I do have
He
the
doesn't ever buy,
images
he doesn't
here.
ever sell, he just informs.
Speaking of Discord, does Children of Primus have a Discord?
No,
No.
I was thinking about it. And what would you? I guess since you're asking, what would you say in terms of getting one?
I mean, you
Uh,
can just make one. It doesn't cost anything.
yeah, it's just kind of like making any other social media type thing. Just a matter of getting people to join it and participate. I've got one for the main YouTube channel, and I've got like a Toy Warp sub channel in it. But it's slow because neither channel has a ton of subscribers. So
Mhm.
it's just that's the only problem I have with it. It's just slow.
I will say
Okay.
this as somebody that's also, been tangentially involved in setting them up for my job. You want somebody to moderate that full time, or else it will rapidly go to hell in a handbasket. Like more so than a lot of other social media. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So that is Studio Series Grimlock, but repainted into the colors of his second canceled Generation 2 figure. Because, there was the blue one, and then there were going to be this yellow and green one, but it was canceled. So now they're doing the Studio Series guy up in these colors. So I'm
Question:
like,
do you feel this is gonna oversaturate Grimlock?
no such thing. I don't think so.
I
I
was
mean,
about to say
I
it's
mean,
such a popular character. It's just impossible to do.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I
I don't
lived
know if I
through the
want
bubble.
to go. Sorry, go ahead. Excuse me.
I lived through the bumblebee swarms of the early 2010s. I don't think we're ever going to go back to that place again.
Mm.
Uh, I think the main thing is like there aren't that many of him because the Studio Series figure's gone. Like you can't find it anymore. You have the little Legacy guy, and then you have this guy who's a completely different color. So I don't think we're going to be overloaded with identical gray T Rexes, which would be what happened with Bumblebee and what caused like long term problems. Oh yeah, and there's what I was talking about before. That is Laser Prime repainted as Toxitron in all of his like Ninja Turtle esque radioactive '90s colors.
Mhm.
And this was supposed to
Oh,
be a,
bummer.
a figure from the 2003 Transformers Universe line that got canceled. That's the actual theme of this line. Like I said, canceled figures.
Digimon Grimlock says
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Calvin.
perfect.
he's not the first one to make that connection. In Digimon, there was a like a orange T Rex called Greymon, even though he's not gray. I don't know. And people have been like, "Oh, that the Grimlock is just Greymon as a transformer," and I'm like, "Yeah, I see it." There's
That
what's his
one,
name? Cloud
Cloud
Cover.
Ranger
Yeah,
or something like that. Cloud cover, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there'll
probably
be
going to be the
three of
one
them here.
people want. Yeah, because people go nuts for new seekers.
I'm digging this one.
Yeah, yeah. And this was another canceled Generation 2 thing, but it didn't even have a name. People just saw a prototype that didn't have any information attached to it, and so they've based this on that and then given it a name.
What did they name him?
Cloud Cover.
Should have called him Snowcap.
Maybe. There's a Dorito Jazz, as people are already calling him.
Cheeto.
No,
We call
that's
him
the
the
'70s
Cheeto.
Yeah.
'70s Bunch jerseys.
Yeah.
That's the
And
famous
yeah.
Cheeto
Someone else
Driver
was saying.
21.
Someone else was saying to put a Tang logo on the hood.
Yeah. Again, this didn't come out. They did a Generation 2 Jazz, which would have been, also pretty good for this line. It was just like, he had like pastel music notes on him and a big green launcher, but was like relatively mild. And then they were going to do a second repaint of him, and we've seen the tech specs art from that, which is what they used for this, but it never came out.
Interesting.
It's coming out now. I'll tell you the one I want, and I have the Ocular Max figure of him. I've shown it before. Where is he? Let me just grab him over here. The one that people have nicknamed Watermelon Mirage. I want to see this line do this guy. It's another canceled Generation 2 color scheme. This guy was a TFCon exclusive a few years ago. This is the Ocular Max Mirage. Yeah. And, there's an Earthrise Mirage kicking around they can use. Stick them in Wave 2 of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah. I like Generation 2, like I said before, that's where I started, but I don't know, this line might be a bit out there even for me. I'm gonna wait and see how these guys feel if I see them on shelves, you know what I mean?
This line should have came out in the 70s. It would have killed.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's very Studio 54-ish.
Yeah. They're just leaning into like everything here has the weirdest color schemes you've ever seen.
Mhm.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys. After Scatman Carruthers' passing, who would have made an excellent voice actor to replace him? I know you can't replace him, but is there an actor out there who has a nice voice that could have done the job? To me, I think it would have been Tone Loc, the dude who sings Wild Thing.
Ooh, that's cool. I like.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else, but other than Tone Loc, no.
Yeah.
I always said that if I was going to recast the voice acting, I always wanted Sam Elliott as Ironhide.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
hell
see
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe
That'd
when
be
he
cool.
shows up in a movie next, they'll bring him in because they love getting random celebrities to do the voices.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm down with that. Him or what's the name? Is it Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges is the dude / the guy from Tron. So
Mhm.
What was the guy who was in that cowboy movie with Matt Damon? It's a remake of I can't even think. John Wayne. I can't think of his name. He had the patch
Oh.
on, but he would make a good Ironhide as well. I forgot his name.
yeah, I'm not familiar with that movie offhand.
I'm not familiar with the movie, but with saying eye patch, I know Jeff Bridges did some cowboy movie while he was wearing an eye patch.
Yeah,
so
it was called
Probably-
True Grit.
That's it. That's him.
okay, Jeff Bridges. All right.
Yeah, so
I
he
wouldn't have
can do
imagined
good.
Tron being. Well, actually, he wasn't Tron, but I couldn't imagine the guy from Tron being Ironhide. But I
He has
didn't hear his
range.
voice in True Grit though.
Yeah,
That's fine.
says he vanished into the role, so good for him.
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Since we got these origin figures of Bumblebee and Jazz, on the elevator scene when Jazz comes up, or after he comes up with nothing, after Optimus Prime asks him, "Is any luck out there?" On that elevator, it was Optimus Prime, it was Prowl, and it was Trailbreaker. Should Trailbreaker get a Siege figure
I'm surprised he
to
didn't.
complete
honestly.
to complete the set? Because if you do Wheeljack, everybody who was listed in that beginning scene should get one, at least.
Yeah, I mean, Siege Optimus and Siege Prowl already exist, so I guess
Right.
would they go backwards and do a Siege Trailbreaker because they waited till Earthrise to do him. I wonder if there'd be an audience for that. Audience
I'd buy
/
him.
market. Mr. Black Goldfish says, I hope DNA Design makes an upgrade kit for Tarn. Oh, they do, everybody, so it wouldn't surprise me. At the very least, they'll put out, gap fillers, because they love their gap fillers.
Yeah, I got the StunnerCon one coming in the mail. I'm waiting on it.
Yeah. Maybe they'll give him an alternate unmaskable face.
Mm.
Well, as we jump into another one of our questions. Do you have for Anthony? Do you have any funny stories getting a character?
Accidentally winding up with the whole Buzzworthy set, because the bill box also contained the three beasts, right? Which are the ones that most people aren't after. I mean, I love these guys because I like beasts, right? The market is very much, these are the guys everybody's trying to get rid of, right? Because nobody wants Goldbug. I mean, everybody wants Goldbug, right? I found a guy in the UK who I happened to be mutuals with on Discord, who was the only person on the planet who was not interested in Goldbug, and so just sold him to me for what the retail chunk of the set would have cost, like a regular deluxe. So somehow I wound up with the whole set, and and I just paid normal price for Goldbug. So that's something exceptional that I did recently without intending to.
Nice.
I wanted this guy.
Yeah.
Trigger Transformers pictures that I wanted. Everybody was trying to sell off the Beast Wars, but she wanted the gold bug. I ended up with like a 50% off coupon one weekend for Target. You know, I went in and it was already on sale. And so I ended up getting the 4-pack for like $28.
Nice.
I was like, well, I'm just going to give these away. And I said that on while we were online. And he was like, oh, I would love to have those. And I was like, send me your address and I will mail it to you.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was fine not grabbing this guy. I just got really lucky. Let me tell you, one of the reasons I was after him is because I read the original Marvel comics this year and last year, and Goldbug and Blaster were paired up for quite a while because Grimlock took over the Autobots and was a terrible leader, and they decided we don't want to do this, and they just left and became like a renegade duo for a few issues. So that's sort of why I was after Goldbug, because of the roles these two had in the comics. You know, they were like a team for a while because Blaster in the comics was not the amusing DJ he was in the cartoon. He was a traumatized resistance leader who was like really serious, completely different character.
Question for you, Anthony.
Yeah.
If Transformers decide to look for a new face of Transformers, obviously it's Bumblebee, do you think Grimlock would be next in line to carry the line?
You mean fictionally or merchandise-wise? Or
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could. I mean, the thinking is you want a kid appeal character who's like young and relatable, and Grimlock is not that. But also, kids like dinosaurs, so I think if they were willing to lean into the dinosaurs cool part of it, then maybe he could sustain a line himself.
Well, based off of season 3, you don't think he could entertain children? I mean, because they made him kind of a goofball in season 3.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I think that's that's actually kind of a clever approach because they've never really tried making the goofier version of Grimlock like the face of a show, and maybe it could work.
There's no way in hell he would be waiting tables in season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bow tie on and shit. I was like, what the hell are they doing to Grimlock?
Yeah.
He left the band.
We don't know. Listen, there's a 20-year time skip, and they have never elaborated what happened there. Maybe something happened to Grimlock to make him just kind of decide to mellow out.
Along
The same
with him
shit that happened to
shrinking.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
He went from Crip to hippie to Rastafarian.
Yeah.
Kind of the same kind of demographic to what happened at Grimlock.
Yeah. We don't know
The herb,
Grimlock's story. You know what? By the way, that is something I would love to see. Almost no media has ever talked about it. There's been Scramble City, the Japanese animation. There's been a couple of mangas, but really, the 20-year gap between the second season and the movie, largely, we don't know what happened in there. No comics or anything has ever really gone into it. So I think there's some storytelling ground there if anybody ever wants to tell any original cartoon stories.
Where are you starting, in your opinion?
1986, the fictional
No, what I mean, is there a storyline you want to base that off of, or you're just going to run with Scramble City and so far, or is that too far?
Well, I mean, so when I said 1986, I meant like the second season of the show. We saw on screen that it took place in 1985. They showed the year, so I'm like, let's move into the following year. Scramble City happened. What else happened? It's a long way from there to 2005. Let's see how we got from where we left things to where we find them in 2005.
So I think it'd be a good part to start would be, what was that next round of Autobots who came after Perceptor and those guys showed up?
Yeah. Where did they come from? How did Autobot City get started? Did the Decepticons willingly leave the Earth? Were they chased off? There's a lot of interesting questions there, and I'd love to see a story tackle that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a movie because how did they run them off? Good point.
Yeah,
they must have had help from somebody.
Either that or they didn't run them off. They were successful in one of their energy-stealing missions and obviously got enough power to rule Cybertron, to take Cybertron back. So
if I was writing it, I would say it depends on who you ask. If you ask Megatron, he'd be like, "No, we got what we needed and left." And then if you ask Optimus Prime, he'd be like, "Oh, we kicked their butts and they ran." And then it's never who told the true story.
That could be the whole storyline.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting to see. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
You know, and I also asked Starscream for his opinion on what
Yeah.
happened.
Starscream's like,
Right.
Megatron's lying. He failed. So I wouldn't have failed. I should take over.
I'm really surprised he made it that far into 2006 without Megatron killing him.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing that he did when he came back. So.
Brad says I've always liked RC, so she's somebody I still want to pick up.
We're
And
talking about the new one. Yeah, it's a nifty little figure, just on its own merits, regardless of whatever the movie will be like. So.
there we go.
Just a little core class biker.
And Steven says Mirage Sideswipe, Wild Rider, or Breakdown had G2 Walmart listings found.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that Mirage listing is one of the Watermelon Mirage guys. Sideswipe could be. They could do a couple things. He could be another version of that Black Generation 2 deco because they did the Siege one in those colors. They never did the Earthrise one in those colors. Or it could be there's a canceled Sideswipe deco that's kind of sunset colored. That could be that because the theme is canceled things. And then Wild Rider and Breakdown, probably the Generation 2 versions.
Cool. Brad says in one of the movies, Grimlock was a main market, and I think he could lead the pack.
That's questionable because you're talking about Age of Extinction. He wasn't. He wasn't in the movie until the last half hour of this 2.5 hour movie, so that's debatable. I know I checked the time on it at the time. When I watched it at home, I was like, okay, this movie's 2.5 hours long. It is now 2 hours, and he's finally here.
Yeah.
But he was the face of all the merchandise, so you could argue that they maybe did that. But maybe if they had better fiction behind it, it would have left more of an impact.
Cool. And Calvin says King Grimlock Comics.
Yeah. He whenever you see Grimlock with a crown on his head, that's from Marvel Comics. He went mad with power like immediately. It was really funny because they were like, Optimus is dead. Who's going to be the next leader? Grimlock's being boisterous about it, and then they do an issue where like he learns a lesson in humility about helping humanity. Defeats Trypticon. They're like, okay, we're going to give it to you. And he's like, I'm going to take this very seriously, I swear. One issue later, he's wearing the crown and he's in a throne and making terrible decisions. And Goldbug and Blaster are like, I'm out of here. Forget this.
Yep.
It was almost like a Gilligan cut in comic book form.
That's funny.
And Brad says, if we're going by G1 movie, I'm going to say that Optimus kicked his ass.
Yeah. like we don't see their underwater base anytime after the second season. Did they blow it up? Is it still there? That's another bit of story possibility.
I just assume that's where Trypticon came from. They used the underwater base to repair Trypticon.
And that's not a bad idea.
That actually goes with the storyline of between the fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron games. As that's how they got to changed, defeated Trypticon into the Nemesis.
Yeah. Then Transformers Prime, he briefly showed up again because Dark Energon sort of temporarily brought his consciousness back. But there was a weird situation there where they weren't allowed to say Trypticon. And there was some producer interference with that. That was a weird episode.
I'm actually thinking about taking my Trypticon to go get it signed by Brad Garrett because he owns a nightclub in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And I hear he's frequently there. So I might have a good shot to go by there and get it signed.
What a weird combination of stuff, in a good way. He's like, this voice actor from a video game also owns a nightclub, so I'm gonna go to the nightclub with my action figure to get it signed. This is great, by the way. I just like how it's like a person and a situation of contrasts.
Well, I'm sure you appreciate it because I don't really see him at Comic Con, so I mean you can't miss him. The man is 6'8".
Well, you know what? It's because
that's why they cast him for Trypticon because.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things when you look up the voice acting for Trypticon and you find out that it is Brad, it's such almost an unknown fact that he was the voice of him. But the other joke was they said that during the recording when he was doing the voice, the other actors would make these jokes that everybody hates Triptychon.
That was mean.
Why does everybody hate Triptychon?
I think he became better when they teamed him up with Octane.
Yeah. just Octane and his Octane and his animal companion, his giant animal companion.
I know, right? I can't wait till they do a new release of him. I want him. He's one of my favorites.
I'm gonna say it wasn't even a team up. Octane stole Triptychon, and it's like twice Triptychon was stolen. I'm like, how is he like so easily just taken away from the Decepticons?
He's big, but he ain't too bright.
Yeah, right. And I just don't understand how nobody knew his ass was missing.
Yeah.
This is like this big ass space is just gone. He's in over here in Carbamia, just drinking oil.
Carbamia.
You want to be the person to tell the leadership that you somehow lost a city, but they're gonna be like, I don't know where he went.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yep, I've quit the Decepticons. I'm not going up again to tell Galvatron Triptychon's missing again.
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. There's the Marvel Squad, Blaster and Goldbug, the Renegade Autobot Brigade.
Those figures. I love those figures.
Yeah.
I was just watching the episode where they went to the nightclub, Blaster and Trax. Should they have put Jazz in that spot opposed to having Trax?
Well, Trax was the new toy they were trying to promote because he was a year 2 guy, so that's probably why he was actually there. Same with Blaster.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
But I like that episode because I like the vibe of like Trax is like a stylish fashionista and Blaster is like a DJ, so they would actually both fit in that environment, but for like different reasons.
Yeah, right.
Although I think putting Jazz in for sure it would outnumber a Soundwave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the inherent cartoon ridiculousness of these big giant robots heading into the nightclub and Blaster just being like, all right, now blend in, be casual.
Right.
Yeah.
Laserbeak on the dance floor just chilling and just seems normal.
Yeah.
Beak want a cracker?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's a different episode. That's when they got kicked off the planet.
Yeah.
And then they were at that nightclub, that high school dance.
Yeah.
Right.
Where Sean Berger, I think that was episode 1.
Oh, yes.
AKA 1/3 of the stories they adapted into Dark of the Moon.
So Steven says Triptychon's a little bigger than my big bull mastiff neighbor.
The best thing is he could mean the character or the figure, and those would both be true, probably.
Mm-hmm. And Brett, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'd like to have Jazz as a wing boy. I could get some honeys with him.
I think you'd attract a lot of undue attention having a giant robot with you.
Mm-hmm. Or as a wing bot.
Just keep him in Porsche mode, because everybody likes a Porsche.
So we'll get to another question, and then we'll also jump into the main topic question where there was also a handful of answers. But another question for you, Anthony. Do you own any figures where you disliked the character but still needed the figure to complete a line?
Yeah. Not often because of my small amount of stuff, but like I did try to get the entire Beast Wars cast because I like the show and Kingdom did all of them, and that meant I had to get the original version of Scorponok, who is the least interesting character on the show and has absolutely nothing going for him, and who, I'm not even going to spoiler this, he gets killed off at the start of the second season and nobody notices or cares. Maybe this is why he's a cannon fodder character these days. And like the buzzworthy repaint is nicer, but I was like, I want to get the full cast. I have that shelf up there that has everybody on it, so I guess this means I got to get Scorponok also. You know, figures okay, but like the character is just fully like nothing.
Cool. And as you see, one more question, um, which is actually kind of a branch off of your question. What is your holy grail that's slipped your hands that you would love to get?
A couple things technically. As for the one that's like slipped out of my hands, I am trying to get all the hubcaps, not just the original. I'm 3 out of 5. There's only been 5 of them because he's a minor character. Um, I got the Generation 2 repaint. I got the Generation Selects guy they did a couple years ago. And I got his movie figure they did in 2010. Still looking for 2 of them. The original yellow Generation 1 version of this, and the Machine Wars one, which was a yellow tow truck they did in the 90s. This guy, I have seen the yellow version at several
You talking about
different
this?
TF. I don't know. I
that
can't
it?
see. I'm big right now. Yeah, that no, that's Bumblebee.
Oh, my bad.
But like he looks very similar.
Mhm.
I've seen it at several TF cons. It has always gotten bought up before I got to it. Last TF con, the only one that they had left was like $70. So I was like maybe, and then the convention ended. So Generation 1 hubcap slipped through my hands a few times, and I've just straight up never seen the Machine Wars one. I've seen it on eBay. It's not even that expensive. It's just not common. But yeah, 3 out of 5. Then I got all of this guy. As for big things, the other thing that's a grail of mine that's probably too costly is a Generation 2 Bruticus with the paintball colors. Like, not one of the new versions, but like the original. That's always been something I've been after, but, you know, he's Bruticus. He costs hundreds of dollars.
Amen.
Rad
Yeah.
Ernsberger says the first version looks like a McDonald's toy. You know what? Let me pull up some images of these things I'm talking about for reference
Yeah.
here. Let me just pull up the TF Wiki, the ultimate resource.
So while you're pulling that up, I took your question, what is your Transformers grill, to social media, and I know initially we were saying that the one answer we probably see is HasLab Unicron, which
Yeah.
a couple of people mentioned that, but there was a whole handful of answers. Let's see, one of them being Unique Toys, the UTR-05 Desperado Megatron. Let's see, another one, Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Optimus.
Whoa.
BotCon Transmutate, can't find him anywhere, or Battle Unicron.
Battle Unicorn, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
That was a Beast Machines figure.
Oh, interesting. Unicorn. Okay. Studio Series 93.
I don't know those numbers, guy. You got to say what the name is.
Mhm. Let's see. BotCon RC or Tigatron.
Oh yeah, those were from like 2002, and they were like super rare. Yeah.
And Micromaster Hot Rodimus, that came with Star Convoy.
Oh yeah. They did a Micromaster Hot Rod.
And Bing Toys Shockwave. Let's see. Beast Wars Magmatron and G2 Laser Prime.
Oh yeah, G2 Laser. I had him, right? I said that at the top of the hour, right? I had him as a kid. He's broken now because I played with him a lot.
Let's see who else. United Warriors Devastator. Lucky Draw God Primus.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell you, Lucky Draw God Primus is a Generation 1 Rodimus Prime painted solid gold because of how he looks like Primus in Marvel. And they only made a very tiny amount of him.
Interesting.
That's probably the rarest Grail here.
Wow.
And Steven says Legend Slipstream, which is a retool of a T30 RC. BotCon Transmutate, and Prime uses Prime's first edition RC mold. And
Yeah.
second BotCon Flame Wars using Prime Hunter RC's mold.
I'm just going to try looking some of these up over here too so I can show them up for reference.
And see a few more. Triptychon being one of them. House mortgage Unicron, as someone calls it,
Yeah.
or another name, car down payment Unicron.
Damn, what you driving that costs 2 G's?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bargain.
G1 Megatron, which I know a lot of people have mentioned that almost in a sense of trying to find G1 Megatron or Optimus, Megatron is the harder one to find.
Well, yeah, there's less of him to go around.
Mhm.
I've
And
seen
Yeah,
a few at our local
I've been
toy
looking
store,
for a
but
right
they're all
arm.
crappy.
I've been looking for a right arm to finish that one that I got pieces of for a little over a year. Just the right arm is extremely hard to find. I found one on Evil Bay, and they want like $60 for it, and it's broken. Like the place that I'm going to mount it to him, the shoulder socket is broken off of that piece, and he still wants $70 for it.
wow.
Yeah, let me share some of these now that I got a screen to share.
Okay.
So,
And there's a question from Brad. Do you know if they ever did a line with all of their Cybertron forms instead of their Earth forms?
oh yeah, that's what Siege was. I mean, it wasn't comprehensive, but everybody that was in there was in a Cybertron form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so that is the Primus I was talking about. That is a very rare lucky draw figure that cost like a bajillion dollars because they only did a very tiny amount, and it was a contest prize. And yeah, because in Marvel Comics, Primus looks like Hot Rod. They repainted Rodimus Prime as Primus. So that's probably the most expensive thing that people said there was their Grail. I would be terrified to handle one of these because it's mostly gold chrome.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people really want them to take Kingdom Rodimus Prime and repaint him into this because it would make for a good modern version of this. That would be nuts. Here's that BotCon RC somebody was mentioning. It was a Black Arachnia repaint, and it's important because it was the first RC that ever actually got made. So that's why it's like so valuable.
Okay.
Yeah, like eventually they did Generation One RCs in the modern day, but this was the first time they actually got to make an RC, and like they got Susan Blue to do some voice lines for a voice chip that went with it. So
Oh, dope.
that yeah, that was kind of a big deal. And that's the Tigatron that they did at the same convention. This was 2002. It was a repaint of Russian Ravage in white, the original version of him, not the modern guy. I keep calling him Russian Ravage because it's the easiest way to quickly tell you which one I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah. These are my guys here. The Generation 2 repaint of Bruticus. I would love to have a complete version of this guy someday, but he's hundreds of dollars I've seen him go for at TFCon just for like Onslaught.
Wow.
Like it's very silly and neon looking, but there's something about it that's real appealing to me for nostalgia purposes. Here's the Generation 1 hubcap that I'm still looking for. If
Yes.
anybody has a beat on this guy for like nothing extravagant, please let me know. It's easily confused with Yellow Cliff Jumper. It's not Yellow Cliff Jumper. This guy has an orange face and like a different head, but that's not easy and obvious.
Right.
And here's Machine Wars hubcap. He's a little guy. Again, I've just never seen him in the wild. If anybody ever has a beat on him, just let me know, because it's another miniature Grail of mine. It's an easy character to get everybody of because they only made 5 of him, so.
Well, they only
Oh.
made 5 of that character?
Oh, they only made 5 versions of hubcap, right?
Okay.
Generation
Okay.
1, Generation 2, Machine Wars, the movie version, and the Generation Selects guys. That's why I'm like, I could go full character completist on this guy. I mean, that's not even getting into third party, which is a whole nother bridge that I will cross when these guys are in my possession,
Hmm.
Because turns out that when your original figure is a retool of Cliff Jumper, if you're a third party company and you're making a Cliff Jumper, you can make a hubcap for easy money really quick. So I know there's quite a few third parties of this guy. I actually have one over there, the Ocular Max hubcap. Let me just get him down. Yeah, right here. This guy was another TFCon exclusive. It's a repaint of retooling of Ocular Max's Cliff Jumper. Yeah, so I guess I've already started on the third-party hubcap quest, but
Yep.
just with this guy. Yeah. I'm just impressed that those Grail listings weren't all HasLab Unicrons like you were worried they were going to be.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, there is a few more. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say like I mean, obviously that figure is like the ideal, but like I wouldn't call it a Grail because I'm like I would need a bigger house to have that, to say nothing about what it would cost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
You know,
like that
as
doesn't even feel like a Grail for me because that involves an entire shift in my entire life before that's possible. You know what I mean?
as Mr. Magnus has in the background.
Yeah, you have the real estate.
Yep.
Yeah, I know another guy. I know another guy that has him, lives in an apartment, calls Unicron his new roommate that doesn't pay rent.
So a couple more Grails that people mentioned. Let's see,
Yeah.
Fire Convoy.
Oh yeah, you know the funny thing about him, they reissued Fire Convoy a few years ago, and then there was a problem with it, and they recalled him and took him off the market, and then just never brought him back. So there is no good way to get a good new one.
Wow.
That's that's Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime, the one that's a fire truck and does the Power Master Optimus thing where he's a little robot in a base and then a big robot.
The Make Toys Metroplex.
The giant one.
Earthrise Prime. And War for Cybertron Megatron.
Earthrise Prime. Whoever said that was your Grail, make your dreams come true. He's not even particularly rare. This is just the Netflix one. That's the less common one.
Yep.
Does it have to be Earthrise because they re-released him in Kingdom?
Yeah, I got what the hell? I have Earthrise one.
Yeah.
Spin, I
if
just
you're
sent you
getting-
something on Messenger. You need to post that up there. I found you a cheap G1 hubcap.
Ooh. Okay, well there we go then. And Steve Box says, speaking of Machine Wars hubcap, perhaps they'll do a redo of the RID tow line, retool and redeco of Legacy Evolution Scraphook into Machine Wars hubcap and hoist. I would love that. That's a complicated thing to explain. So Scraphook, the new Junkion that they're putting out in Legacy, who changes into a tow truck, it's been leaked that they're doing a repaint of him into Robots in Disguise tow line. And Tow Line and Robots in Disguise was a repaint of Machine Wars hubcap and hoist. So people are like, well, maybe they'll do a new version of him as hubcap. I would love that. I don't think it's going to happen because nobody seems to like or remember Machine Wars very much except for me. They did a BotCon set one year and it like didn't sell. It was like on the secondary market for forever. Machine Wars, for anybody listening that doesn't know, was a one-wave toy line that they did in the 90s, right in the middle of Beast Wars. That was a really brief attempt to bring the Generation 1 guys back. It was just Hubcap was there, but also it was Optimus, Starscream, Soundwave, Megatron, the whole gang. The bigger guys were repaints of European Generation 1 figures. The smaller guys were new toolings. It was a KB Toys exclusive. It was one wave. It just kind of came and went without much fanfare, but people in the 90s were into it because there was no Generation 1 stuff at the time, so that was the only game in town.
Mm.
Yeah. I never had any of it, but like I looked at JPEGs of it fondly on the internet at the time because we didn't have KBs in Canada, so they weren't up here.
And Brad says, Vintage sent me that Unicron we were talking about last stream, and I shot someone with one of the missiles from the chest. It was wonderful.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so funny. He sent me the video of him shooting with the missile in the middle, and I don't ever remember him doing that as a kid.
Yeah, it makes a big angry whirring noise. You're gonna try and pull it off now. Yeah. you can
I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah. It's really.
I don't know if you can see this or not.
There's something on there. Is there a price tag?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it for $5 at Goodwill,
Oh my god.
Wow.
and it's got all of his rockets and the little guy.
Yeah, it's basically
But now the
complete.
rockets behind the desk.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you can sort of hear it there. But like, the gear mechanism in what is probably not in purpose, but like works wonderfully, is that it's really loud and kind of intimidating when it slowly brings the launcher out. So like that like adds to it.
Here, I'll try it again
Yeah,
without the missile in it.
yeah, you can sort of hear it there. It
Yeah,
doesn't
can
pick up
kind of
too
hear
well,
it.
but yeah, but yeah, you
Not
get
bad
the
for
idea.
$5.
Yeah. A fan of TJ Omega's got him HasLab Unicron as a surprise. Oh my god. Okay, this is never gonna happen, but I'm gonna honestly be like, nobody send him to me ever. I do not have space for that. I mean, if you did, I would be obligated to immediately sell it to recoup the costs. I would not be keeping that. I would not have anywhere I could put it in here.
Wow.
The Armada one, sure, I could probably squeeze that in, but like, not the big guy.
Well, I mean, you could just get another chair, have him sit beside you as like a co-host.
Yeah, actually, there you go. I wonder if I could claim it as a tax write-off. Be like, I do this thing here. I stream. I now have a co-host next to me in the
Yep.
chair here. He
Well,
always
just be
agrees
careful
with
you don't
me.
get locked up.
Yeah, he always agrees with me.
Mm.
How tall is the HasLab anyway?
27 and a half.
Yeah,
He'd fit. I'd have to rearrange some shelves, but he'd fit.
yeah.
27,
what?
28. Yeah.
Let me go. Well, while you guys are talking, I'm gonna see if I can find the one video
What do
on
you
our
have
channel.
there close
that-
by that you can compare it to, and I'll stand it beside him.
Because we interviewed someone who had Unicron in a baby carriage.
Yeah, we saw him we saw him physically at TFCon. He brought him in a baby carriage because it's the exact right scale.
Toy Warp, what have you got? What have you got close by that you could compare with? I'll stand it beside mine.
There we go.
Oh, I don't have anything not behind glass right now. But you know,
Only thing
20, I, mean,
is that-
I know how tall my cases are, and I know 27 inches would fit inside one of the cases. But you know, I have a hard time paying as much for one transformer that's not a G1 that I did for half my cars. I own 9 cars. I spent more than $700 on one of them.
Yeah. Is our TFCon video? Yeah, just keep it muted for now, I guess. Yeah, I was gonna say like, HasLab Unicron. Like, I even before I figured out I couldn't fit him in my house, I was like, I can't justify that price. I'm not like here's the thing. I try and I do I'm kind of budget with this hobby. I don't do masterpiece stuff really. I just stick to mainline things. I sell a lot of things at TFCon to fund the more stuff. Like, I'm not a big money spending guy on this stuff. You know, I play within my means basically. And Unicron is not within my means, right?
That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it's half the reason why. Oh yeah, there he is. Check it in the baby carriage. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, I had to like walk back a bit to fully get him in the shot.
Yeah, he had to
They
take
probably
the
charge you
wings
that mission.
off. Yeah. Well, little kids, I believe, are free at TFCon, like under 3. And hey, Unicron is less than 3 years old. At that point, definitely. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
Go back a bit again.
Yeah, I like that. We'll probably come up with a less chaotic setup when we're at TFCon next time. But I love how, thanks to the way it worked out, we just have live Calvin reactions for everything. Yeah. See, I was like, I always wanted to see one of these in person, so I got to. So I was like, I'm happy.
Oh, and what's funny is, Toy Warp had commented, "Is still cheaper than a real baby."
Yeah.
Amen. Because I have 3.
I wonder where he got that stroller from. I should have asked him that. Did anybody ask him that at the time?
Nope.
RG Eagle says, "Welcome, boys. Just getting on now and catching up here.
Yes, welcome, RJ.
Let us know what your Grail is that you either has escaped your grasp or is just too costly to get."
So a few more that people have mentioned. Studio Series Jetfire.
Studio series, like with the Revenge of the Fallen one, or is they talking about the Siege one, which is not the
Uh,
Studio series?
let's see. You know what? They didn't get specific. And then MMC IDW Megatron.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's based on his design in More Than Meets the Eye, and it actually transforms, unlike the model kit they did do.
Cool. Robot Paradise Acoustic Wave. Sound Wave.
Yeah, that's an upgraded Masterpiece Soundwave, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beast Wars Power Hug.
Oh my gosh. Let me find a picture of that guy. I wonder if that person was a fan of. There used to be a web comic called Insectacomics. Uh, it's not around anymore. It was like a toy photography comic, and they made Power Hug into like a important character in it just because it's such a funny character. It's a repaint of Retrax from Beast Wars. It's a Beast Wars second figure.
That's
Yeah,
not what I was expecting.
What the
Yeah.
world?
Yep, same here.
Yeah, so people call it Power Hug because its arm, you can see it's T-posing with its arms spread out. And it has that spring-loaded thing there where you can turn it into a ball like a real pill bug. So in the robot mode, it can just like do a spring-loaded hug with its arms. You know, they just clamp shut. So,
To be honest with you, I was expecting a Care Bear that can transform.
yeah. So it's like Power Hug because the spring-loaded clamping down action with the arms.
Interesting.
Looks like a potato bug.
Yeah, it is a potato bug.
That's funny.
And this is I wonder why Power Hug specifically, because this is, like I said, this is a repaint of Retrax, which was an American figure that was in a Predacon in like green and black, and then over in Japan they just did a random repaint, like, you know, in these like clown-looking colors. Maybe they want it because it's weird. I respect that. I like weird figures. I like weird G2 repaints. I got that Beast Machines Cheetor there and all of its strangeness that I love. So you know what? I'm clowning on it a little bit, but I respect liking the strange things, you know?
Yeah, RJ Eagle says his Grail that escaped him was Pepsi Prime from the 80s, and Bathing Ape Prime, and of course HasLab Unicron.
Which Bathing Ape Prime? There's been a lot of them. That's a Japanese clothing store, like a high fashion one. For some reason, they do Optimus Prime repaints a lot as like exclusive bits of merchandise. They've done Generation 1 ones, they've done Masterpiece ones. Maybe the wiki has a good list of their releases. It's just a written list. Like here's pictures of a couple of them. They did a green one randomly in like army camo. They did a black sort of Nemesis one again in army camo.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, and they did some Masterpiece MP10 versions. Like there's the army camo one in green. They did a red version. I'm sorry, wrong place. They did a red version here. I guess you had to buy clothes with them to get them.
Oh.
And there's a black Nemesis repaint. Yeah, so to him I'd ask which one, because there's a lot of these. And yeah, they're all like literally exclusives of this clothing company. Why they do this, I don't know. Maybe the person that runs it is a Transformers fan. I can't say I wouldn't do something different if I was in that place.
Well, he replied saying the MP version of Bathing Ape.
Again, there is 3 of them: green, red, and black. Stephen Buck says, I got both Beast Wars Jetstorm and Beast Wars 2 Tonbot, and because red is my favorite color, I got Beast Wars 2 Bighorn. I really want to get the Telemoka Wolfang to be my 3rd red Beast Wars team member. This is probably gibberish to anybody that wasn't a Beast Wars guy like me, but yeah. These are mostly insects except for Bighorn, who was a red bull, and a red bull, and Wolfang, who was a red wolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there we go. RJ says
Green camo, baby.
yes.
Probably because that's the only one that, like, you can get other black Optimuses, you can get other red Optimuses. That's one of the very few ways to get a green Optimus.
So actually, the one a question that I didn't get a chance to rewrite from last week's episode. But if you were to sell all of your figures, which one would you keep?
Cheetor!
I've said before, I'm gonna go for sentiment and say probably Victoria on there because Jess got me that for my birthday one year, and that was an incredibly touching
Okay, I'll
gesture.
accept that. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
The wife over trumps the friend. I got. All right.
Yeah.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
Acceptable.
It was a
I'll still continue
huge
to send you stuff.
Okay. Yeah, huge, expensive, sentimental value, hard to replace. I could always get another G2 hubcap. I could always get another retro hot rod, which would be my other go-tos to take with me. I could even.
Is she pointing the gun at you?
No. I don't think. Nope. I just duck around the doors. You're just like.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right. You better
No,
say
like,
Victoria.
Yeah, she got me that one, so I'm gonna keep that one.
That's cool.
Also, it's a big combiner. That's like 6 robots in there, so that's saving more than one by technicality.
Mm-hmm.
Spin, is that better? My volume was up a little bit.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. My mic kind of hangs in front of the speakers on this system here.
Ah, okay.
I guess I could turn the filter onto that side of it.
Cool. Steven says Jetstorm, Black Dragonfly, and a Tombot, Red Dragonfly.
That was Tonbot, the repaint of Jetstorm. Yeah, in Japan, insects aren't viewed as villainous. They're viewed as heroic for some reason. That's why Kamen Rider's a thing. So a lot of the Beast Wars insects, which were Predacons, got repainted and released in Japan as Maximals, and that's what he's referencing, like Power Hug, and like Tonbot was the Jetstorm, the Dragonfly in good colors, stuff like that.
Okay, and also Bighorn Buffalo.
Yeah, Bighorn's a repaint of Beast Wars Bone Crusher, who was a buffalo. Yeah. Anthony must not have seen the sniper laser scope red dot on himself. Obviously not.
Let's see. So another question. What's your favorite bit of Transformers media?
Well, in terms of animation, yeah, I gotta go with Beast Wars. I do legitimately think it holds up. And I watched it again recently, so it's not just nostalgia factor talking. If you're talking comics, I always talk about recommending the Transformers run that was just called Transformers, that started in 2019 and was written by Brian Ruckley. They released it in 6 hardcovers. It's over now. It's a really interesting science fiction take on what Cybertron was like before the war and how the war began, which has been told before, but it's done in a very large, complicated, realistic way. They're like, this is what their whole society was like. This is how they're born. This is how they pick their alt modes. This is how their culture worked. There's other aliens on the planet. And we're also going to kind of watch things slowly slide into war in a more complicated, realistic way, and then eventually just all go to hell. It had to end when IDW lost the license, but I think it ended in a good spot, and it makes it a very complete feeling story because it has a beginning, middle, and end and everything, and the author had enough time to wrap everything up. So that's my recommendation for comics. It's out in 6 hardcovers, and the real nice thing about it is those hardcovers collect all the different mini series and one shots and stuff that came out in the order you're supposed to read them. So you don't need to like do any research like you sometimes have to do with comics. It's just like buy the hardcovers, read them in that order. Stephen Bach says, how many issues did IDW 2019 end at? I think it made it up to 40 something. But also there were several, like I said, there were several mini-series that also came out. No, I think it was in the 30s. It was in the 30s, and it ended on a special one-shot issue called Fate of Cybertron. And then there was like multiple 5-issue miniseries, and there was like a 12-issue one called Transformers Galaxies. So I want to say there's probably 50-odd issues to actually read.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not that tall an order.
I am not a Beast Wars person, and this is the only Beast Wars that I have, and it's because I am a Spider person.
Oh yeah, Beast Machines Black Arachnia. That's one that I see. Me and my cousin together, we collected like the first whole chunk of Beast Machines. That's one my cousin had. So like, I've messed around with that one before. So it's a good take on the character.
Hey guys, I gotta drop off. I got some stuff to do with Toy Fact, so it was good seeing everybody.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for taking the time to come chat with us.
Yeah, good meeting you, man. Good meeting you.
All right.
Yep.
You too. Let's go to work. Let's you on IG?
No, I'm there, but I never use it.
That's all good.
Were you able to bring up that picture?
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, take care. Thank you for coming by once again.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested in whatever the eventual photo is whenever it comes up. But
oh yes, get the picture.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I always considered it a point of positivity towards the Kingdom version of Black Arachnia. I'm a little bit arachnophobic in real life. None of those toy spiders ever bothered me though. The Kingdom version of Black Arachnia did bother me. G1 Racing.
That was the first thing that came up when I put in G1 hubcap.
Hey, a $25 hubcap. I'm there.
Then when I put Transformers in it, that's the cheapest one right there.
Yeah, I just like a Transformer hubcap. Somebody sends me a single one. Yeah, awesome. That's the robot mode.
She got booty.
Yeah.
But the thing I always liked about her was that if you can give me the screen again.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. It's kind of hard to see. You gotta.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. Extra eyes.
Her sniper eyes open up.
Yeah. See,
That's
she was
cool.
on the Beast Machines cartoon, and that was a thing she could do there too. Usually just had multiple eyes, but could just pull the thing up and just look at everybody with 6 eyes at once.
Yeah. The few episodes that I saw that she was in, and whenever she gets surprised, all of them open up. She's like, "Oh."
Yeah. Beast Machines is the sequel series to Beast Wars, and it's only 2 seasons instead of 3. At the time, it was a bit controversial because it's a lot darker and a lot stranger than Beast Wars was, but I think it's aged well nowadays because most shows don't aspire to do the stuff it was doing. So it's basically they get back to Cybertron, things go sideways. They're in a very bad place. Everybody's under a lot of pressure and stress. Things happen.
Now, this guy is also from that, isn't it?
Yeah, Tankor, yeah. It's one of the Viacons. Because in Beast Machines, the theme was the good guys were the animals and the bad guys were vehicles, because Megatron controlled a whole army of drones, except for a few Viacon generals that were proper Transformers with sparks, and Tankor was one of them. Yeah, so again, cannon fodder. There was a singular Tankor, but then he commanded legions of tank drones that looked exactly like him, so...
RJ Eagle says, I would keep the G2 Spy Changer Soundwave. But just kidding, I would keep the MMC Frel Rex or the Japanese reissue of Fortress Maximus, but it's a tough question.
Japanese reissue Fort Max is the one I keep out of that bunch. That's a big guy. RG Eagle says, which Transformers origin story do you prefer? G1 Marvel Comics, G1 Cartoon, or some other media? IDW. IDW is too complicated. I kind of prefer the cartoon origin story just because I like the idea of taking the robot revolution narrative and kind of turning it on its head and not having it be an inherently bad thing, which is sort of what the Generation 1 origin story does. And also, Marvel Comics origin is mythology. Cartoon is more hard science fiction. I kind of like the science fiction better. That's just a personal preference. I like the Marvel one, too. This is just, if it's one or the other, I kind of like the cartoon better. Oh, Brad Ernsberger says, speaking of Beast
Before we
Wars,
get into that, guys, I've got to
Yeah.
run. It's now 9
Oh,
o'clock
okay.
here. It's at 3 a.m. Comes around early. So
Ooh, 3 a.m.
it's been a pleasure. I will see you all next week.
All right,
Yeah.
sir.
Good
Yeah,
seeing you, Bill.
I got a 2-hour drive to the job site. Sucks.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
gosh.
All right. You
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
you have a
you
good
gotta
evening.
I'm on the road 4 hours a day, right?
That's a lot of time, man.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for
Listen to
having
some
me again.
podcasts.
I'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, sir,
same.
once again.
Good seeing you, Bill.
You too, mate.
Yeah. What was he saying? I already forgot the comment because I got distracted. Have you ever played the Japanese Beast Wars game on Game Boy Advance? I have not. They made a Game Boy Advance game that was a fighting game. The only Beast Wars game I ever played was they did one for the PC that was a third-person shooter. I never got it to run properly on my crappy computer. I never did. It was also on the PlayStation 1. I didn't have a PlayStation 1. I wouldn't mind playing it someday. I hear it's not very good, but, it's just on general principle. Yeah, it's just a third-person shooter where, run around, shoot the enemies. You have your beast
Right.
mode to protect you from Energon. The funniest thing about it was they couldn't get any of the cartoon's voice cast to do the voices, so the entire game has voice acting from a group of people that is just blatantly not them. It's really weird. Because it's like, not to say anything about the wonderful Beast Wars voice cast, but they weren't like celebrities, so it's really strange they couldn't get them to also do the lines for the game, and that they went through the trouble to get a whole different group of people. I always wondered what happened there.
Well, that's like back in the day when you'd see a movie, like a popular movie, end up on VHS, but then they come out with like part 2 or part 3 of the movie, but like none of the original actors are in it, and just people who look like the original actors, and like some of these like aren't even like B-list actors,
Yeah.
or just like I've never seen these people ever.
Yeah, and that was exactly the vibe. And like I said, it made it weird because Beast Wars was just a group of like standard working voice actors, so it's not like they were celebrities that they couldn't get to do the game. Also,
But it must have been a budget thing then at that point.
must have been. There wasn't even like a ton of dialogue. 'Cause, like they had the opening and closing cutscenes, and they just said maximize and terrorize and beast mode and stuff. So it was like you couldn't even just like sample clips from the show, even if you didn't want to get them in the
Wow.
booth to do new lines. Stephen Bach says, Anthony, I got to wear Skylink's Bit Skywarp like a Slim Jim in that Transformers comics run. Been meaning to finish. Okay, that was a really cool part. He's talking about the Brian Ruckley stuff I was talking about.
Okay.
Skywarp in that is like a serious threat because his teleportation powers actually make him like a next level problem. And then there's a really cool bit where in the middle of a big battle, Skylynx figures out where he's about to be and just clamps down and bites him in half, and that's how it finishes the fight. Like right as he teleports in there.
That's
Man,
crazy.
I'm a Skywarp fan, so that's
Yeah.
that's disappointing.
Hey, but if he has to job, at least he jobbed in the coolest way possible,
Mhm.
But yeah, it's worth finishing. It ends well. You'd think that the fact that they were going to lose the license, so he had to wrap things up. You wouldn't even be able to tell because everything pays off, everything comes back. It has a really good ending. It's worth finishing. Another question. Speaking of gaming, did anybody own the Commodore 64 version of Transformers? I think it was by Activision and released in the late 80s. I think this was the first Transformers video game. You talking about the platformer? I've never played it, but I've read and seen stuff about it.
Yeah, I've watched some videos on it. It didn't. Wow! It did the reviews. Even the guys that are making the videos on them. Yeah, this game, it's Transformers, and we like it because of that. But the rest of it sucks.
Yeah, to take it to he says, my bad. It's for Game Boy Color. It's from Takara from 1999. The art is really cool and very anime-like. I check it out if you haven't seen it. Look it up. Oh yeah, I know about it. I just haven't played it. Where am I going to get a Japanese Game Boy game? And I'm not really tech savvy enough to get an emulator. um, to take it back to where we started the broadcast right at the start, War for Cybertron in 2010 was the first time there was a Transformers video game that was like universally beloved. There was some before that got like decent accolades, but that was the first one where they were like, everybody likes this. Yeah. There you go, right? There's the poster.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
That's the actual store display. I almost got in a fight with somebody to get that.
What is with this trend of this happening?
Yep.
I wasn't leaving that store without it. It wasn't an employee. It was somebody else that they had promised to me first, and they had actually written my name on the back of it, and then another employee promised it to one of their buddies. So I came in at the same time. The other guy was already in there following. No. That ain't happening. No.
Wow.
It was really funny too because the guy turned around, he like puffed his chest out to me. I just kind of looked at him like, "Nah, dude, nah. I will go to jail for this poster. You don't understand this."
Yeah, like there were like people liked some of the movie games. People liked the Transformers Armada PS2 game. But War for Cybertron was the very first like this is the good one like game they did.
I didn't. I just watched a retrospective on both of them. I forget the channel name that I watched on, but I did not realize there were so many differences between the gameplay of War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron, and they're only like 2 years apart.
Yeah. They just like iterated on it. I've said this before. I never got to play Fall of Cybertron because I didn't have an Xbox. My brother did. His Red Ring, he didn't bother replacing it, and this was between games, so I never got to play it, unfortunately. I like the first one.
War for Cybertron came out 4 days before BotCon that year, and I made it my mission to beat that game before. So I could say I beat it before I went to BotCon, and then I went to BotCon, and they had a huge display for it, and with the game out, so I just started just buzzing through it. And people are looking at me like, "What, dude? I done beat it already. What are you talking about?"
just doing a live speed run.
Yeah, kind of.
Steve says, "Oh no, go ahead."
There's YouTube videos of the Game Boy Color Beast Wars games gameplay. Yeah, I think I've watched some before. It's weird. That's not even the only time they did a fighting game. They did a Beast Wars fighting game for the N64 and PS1. It's an interesting, which makes sense for. I'm surprised there hasn't been more Transformers fighting games. There was that mobile phone one, but so many of it's based on one-on-one showdowns with the transformation aspect. It seems like a good genre for them to make games in. Brad Ernsberger says, "I remember the Armada game being half decent." Yeah, it was. It did. It sold pretty well too.
That was fun.
Yeah, you can tell they were trying to de-emphasize the fact that it was an Armada game because in most markets except for Europe, it was just called Transformers. They're like, no subtitle, just Transformers. Brad Ernsberger says, "I own the N64 Beast Wars game. It sucks." Yeah, I heard it was not great.
Wow.
It was the fighting one he was talking about. Good idea, I think.
When you weren't talking fighting, when you're talking like a versus?
Yeah, like, Street Fighter.
Okay.
One of them. Yeah, it was focused on the Transmetals. Yeah, because it was based on the second season of the show. Yeah. I think its one claim to fame was that there was a bunch of Transmetals and characters and stuff in there that weren't on the show but were action figures, so it was a chance to see them exist in the show world, basically.
Cool. And our final question, boxed or unboxed?
That should be fairly obvious.
Yep.
I mean, I keep some of the boxes if they're particularly cool or interesting, but no, I unbox everything I get. I like transforming these guys. I like taking photos. I like posing them. You know, that's what I get out of it. If you like, I understand the appeal of keeping these things in boxes, but that's just not me. um, Especially with like up until recently, when action figures are starting to become closed boxed all the time, I could see the rationale of keeping like a Marvel Legend or another action figure in the package, because like there's the thing, you can see it. But with Transformers, you're only getting like half at best of what it's got to offer if you're leaving it in the package. You know, that's, again, like I understand keeping things in box, especially because there's some cool boxes. But no, I take these things out. That's what I get out of it.
Yep.
That's why I'm involved.
So
RJ,
interesting with your
mhm.
I'm sorry, Spin, but interesting with your love of Beast Wars and everything. Okay, part of the reason why I like to have the G1 stuff in box is because I remember going to the store and seeing all the stuff, obviously in the box, never being able to have very much of it at all. So it's kind of weird that you wouldn't kind of follow that along with it, with your love of Beast Wars.
Yeah, I will say, I don't have it out, but they're doing those reissues right now. I haven't gotten really deep into them, like the Beast Wars reissues. But I did keep the card I got reissue Rat Trap on, because it is just a '90s Beast Wars card. And it looks really, really cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hang on to this card, even though I cut the figure out of the bubble, because I'm like, yeah, that's the packaging. That is the stuff that I got the figures on. Yeah,
Cool.
and most Beast Wars figures weren't boxed either. Only the bigger ones. This is when the blister cards were the standard, so a lot of them were just hanging, the hanging blister pack kind of things in the bubbles.
Right. Uh, well, RJ asked, did anyone clear the Armada game? Did you guys beat Tidal Wave? That game was tough.
Yeah, no, I never beat it. I didn't have a PS2 either. I just played it at my cousin's house. I didn't get very far. Once again, like I said at the top of the hour, Thu's gaming channel, Playgrind, he did a full playthrough of the Armada game as well, if anybody just wants to watch the whole thing. That's what I finally did many years later when he played it. I'm like, now I'll get to see firsthand how this actually ended.
Cool. And Brad says you can also pose the toys in front of a box, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. It's something I always say, and I have a few of these on my shelves. The brown boxes that the Generation Selects figures come in, they make excellent risers for your shelves. um, I didn't do them there, but like sometimes if a shelf's a bit deep, I'll put a few of these boxes in the back and just stack the back figures on top of them. Yeah, there's just a real convenient. That's why I hang on to these. Real convenient, like multi-leveled riser building tools. And they're just solid brown boxes, so they're not super graphically distracting. Yeah, these ones in particular, I don't understand why people keep a Generation Selects figure in box, because they literally come like this. Like, good luck seeing what's in there. Which one was this? This was G2 Ramjet. You gotta open it up and take them out. Which, maybe if somebody wants to slash the card and open it like this, because the figure's just in there tied down.
Right.
Yeah, not much curb appeal on that box. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also because, like, they've kind of given up on this these days, but the idea with Generation Selects was supposed to be, like, online only. Like, you're supposed to only get them from Hasbro, Pulse, and a few other vendors off the internet, so these were never supposed to be on store shelves. That's why they came packaged like this. Of course, in Canada, they wound up carrying them up here anyway, so you just have these rows of brown boxes with no photography on the shelves. Like, I sure hope the consumer understands who Ramjet is and why he's in this box, because there's no photos.
Steven says, box / unbox. I need to get a Marvel's, what's it, Shriek? Shriek to go with my new 52 Harley Quinn. If so and when I do, I shall open my Harley Quinn finally.
Be honest, did you read that as Marvel's Shrek? Because I did.
I at first read it as Shrek.
Yeah. Steven Box says, I got some boxed Overwatch figures to go with my Overwatch comics. Yeah, I could see leaving those in the package. Those things hit, like, deep clearance. Like, they're still at my Toys R Us for, like, no money. So if you ever want to get into those, you could probably get the whole line for, like, super cheap. RJ Eagle says, which Beast Wars toy slash figure are you hoping will get the Masterpiece treatment? I don't really do Masterpiece, so that doesn't super affect me. But I would like to see them give Rat Trap a try, because Rat Trap's my favorite Beast Wars character. So I would be academically curious what they could do with that. And he's not a big guy either, so if he was cheap, I might even break my rule and just bite for that one, you know? I mean, they did a Thrilling 31 a few years ago. It's up on a bookshelf there. And when they did Masterpiece Optimus Primal, the gorilla, he's got a couple of tabs on his back that's designed so that you can put the Thrilling 30 rat trap on his back, because there's one episode that he rode on Optimus Primal's back. Because
Right.
Optimus Primal has jets and they needed to fly out of someplace. So I think they sort of unofficially consider that one to be the Masterpiece one. But even so, I'd like to see them give like an actual Masterpiece one a try. See what it looks like.
Steven says that those GS boxes are good for storing art supplies in.
Yeah, and accessories. I use the little box that the Centurion accessory pack came in, because they just gave you this like Chinese food looking takeout box for his accessories, and so I just keep them all in here. And it's what it looks like. This looks like what I get chicken balls out of from the Chinese food store in Pickering. It's the same shape,
It
just
is.
no grease stains on it.
It's exactly the same.
No grease stains. Always a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Brad says, for me a main appeal of boxes is that they're Japanese. Japan goes all out with their art and their packaging. Gets you really excited to play with the toy. Yeah, and like I said, I have some boxes down here that I keep. I do keep the boxes for like Japanese stuff generally, because it is really cool. And like, if I were to ever sell it, I'd put them back in the box, you know. Yeah, where's my reissued big convoy that's up there? I knew that was going to happen. I kept the box for it because it was really nice looking. It was a replica of what the original '90s box looked like. Just says Encore in the corner to let you know that it's a reissue. But yeah, they got all the fancy art and the fancy images on the sides. Yeah, like I held on to this, and you know, I'll keep holding on to it. And if I ever sold him, I don't plan to, but you know, see where life goes. I'd put him back in here to sell him.
That's what I did with Fall of Cybertron, the game Fall of Cybertron Grimlock.
Yeah.
I got him out to display him here in the case, but I did keep the box for him.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll do a new one of him in this new studio series line that they're doing of the video game guys. See what Years of Engineering could do for him. I feel like they'd need to make him a leader based on his scale in the game.
Steven says that the Tracer Focus Overwatch comic was great.
I don't know Overwatch that much, so I can't comment. One of my friends was really into it, so I sort of got some secondhand knowledge, but like, I don't play it, I don't really know the lore. But, you know, cool, I guess.
Okay. And Stephen Box says, I got all my blast effects in a box like the one Anthony showed. It came with my Magna Triceratops from Kingdom.
Yeah, because they did a second set that was all blast effects, in opposed to the accessory set of the first one, because they realized people liked those blast effects. And they do, they make for good photos. Because you can just put them on the ends of people's guns, or make it look like they got hit. RJ Eagle says, isn't the Thrilling 30 Beast Wars Prime really small, or was it Generations? I remember buying a really small Beast Wars Prime, but he was an undersized but a fun toy. I think you're talking about the Robot Masters one. That's one I had but sold. It's like the size of like a small deluxe. It came out in like the 2000s.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Reveal the Shield. Oh, or you mean Optimus Prime. Yeah, they did a Generation 2 Optimus Prime and Reveal the Shield that was really small. It was based on the Laser Optimus design. Which, you know, naturally meant I had one for a while. Like, yeah, and eventually I sold it off. And now I have this big version over here. This is the guy. Yeah, funny story. So I got the original for Christmas one year, because the Generation 2 original, and At the time, I was a little sad because I'd actually wanted the Generation 1 reissue Optimus that I knew was out. And I was like, this isn't the one that was on the show. Uh, but, I eventually took him out and played with him and realized this guy was really fun anyway, so, like, it stopped mattering. And also, I realized at the time, I would have got this guy in, like, 95, and the one I was thinking of came out in 92, 93. So there was no way my parents could have gotten that one because it was probably long gone.
Hmm.
I remember there being a really small version of that Prime though, because I know Brad had it. So
Yeah. It's probably what he was talking about. Yeah, because they did him in 2010 also. And then the big selling point here was they finally did like a full-size version. And it has the battle base over there too, which that one didn't come with. Yeah, but they're never going to be able to top the original battle base because it just fired like 2,000 kinds of missiles, and there was a air bellow rocket you could push down that would go flying and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Brad Ernsberger says, I think a cool concept would have been a line where the bots and cons look dead like in the movie. They always milk the series, so why not try something genuinely different? Like a whole corpse line? They've done a few of those before. They've done several dead Optimuses. They did the Sparkless bots in the Netflix line. Have they done a dead Starscream? They've done a ghost Starscream. I wonder if people would be up for an entire line of gray dead guys.
maybe for army builders, I think that'd be about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Although, I
Like,
mean,
people have-
the dead Starscream has always been an ongoing joke of just like, powder on a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have,
Hmm.
yeah. People have pointed out that it's really grimly funny. You know how every Studio Series figure comes with a backdrop of a specific scene from the movie that the character was in? And they've done both Ratchet and Ironhide's 1986 movie figures in the line at this point. They come with the backdrops of the scene in the shuttle right before they get killed. And like
Oh, my.
Ratchet, the Studio Series Ratchet figure comes with the 2 pistols that he had too as his accessories. So
Wow.
like, they're like, hey, replicate the moment right before he got shot and killed in front of your eyes.
Because I wasn't traumatized enough as a child. Let's completely
Yeah.
relive it.
Yes.
Yeah. And like the
The
Ironhide
sales.
also has the 2 guns. Like, I mean, they're like, hey, this is the scene they were in. There's the backdrop. Set it up and relive it.
Sales.
Such heroic nonsense. Ah.
Yeah. People always talk about Optimus Prime's death being tragic, but Ironhide's was worse because that guy was alive and Megatron just like point blanked him in the face.
Yep.
I think that was worse.
That has to be the worst one out of all of them.
Well, no, I don't know because they didn't show it, but they showed Prowl literally like with the smoke coming out of his mouth and going
Oh, yeah,
offline.
true.
And I was just like,
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, we've got through all of our questions. As a on tour work, do you have any other questions for Anthony?
oh man, I don't know. I think I was stuck on that last one about getting all of his Beast Wars stuff still in the box or still on the card. Apparently, if they were still all on the card. I don't know. I got to ask some extra questions earlier, but I can't think of one now.
Staircase wit. You'll think of them 15 minutes from the end of the stream. Oh.
The one you were mentioning, you mentioned a comic earlier, and apparently I had been muted, so I didn't exactly hear or you guys didn't hear me when I asked you what comic it was because I didn't catch the name of it though. The comic you were saying that was Cybertron and how it fell into the war.
Yeah.
What was the name of that comic?
In a really confusing thing, it is literally just called Transformers, which I really wish they... but it's by a guy named Brian Ruckley, and it started in 2019, so that's probably what you would need to look it up. Let me get the first trade here. The first hardcover. It's just over across the way. Which way did I lay these out? Bottom up or up down? Horrors near and far. The world in your eyes. Here we go.
As Brad says, I love that shuttle scene. It really showed how cold the cons were. Instruments of destruction made that scene perfection.
Yeah. So the first volume is called "The World in Your Eyes," and it eventually it came out in 6 hardcovers. But yeah, it is just called Transformers, and it's just by Brian Ruckley. Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the hardcovers are kind of costly, but like I said, I do like that they for once collected everything in the order that it's best read, so you don't have to look it up or anything. Though the wiki's pretty good at lining it all up if it's confusing. Yeah, it stops being about this pretty quickly, but like it starts with this new transformer named Rubble being born, and Bumblebee has been selected to be his mentor. So it's about him just like learning about this world that he's in, and something we learned really quickly is that the Transformers are in a situation where there was a war in the past. It's over now, and they're under strict measures to make sure it doesn't happen again. And because Transformers are functionally immortal, like they don't die, uh, there's a resource crunch, and so as a result, they have limits on how many Transformers can be like created and born. So Rubble is a big event because he's the first one that's been created in a long time. So it's a big responsibility for Bumblebee. It's just one of the many like science fiction things they do because they're like, oh yeah, a race that does like never die and lives for millions of years would run out of resources pretty quick, and that war was about expanding and colonizing other planets, and Megatron, who at this point is just like a politician instead of a Decepticon leader, is like, no, you don't get it. We need to go colonial because we don't die and resources are limited. We need to expand. It really gets into that stuff, and that's why I liked it. It's just way more detailed and thoughtful than a lot of Transformers stories.
Yes, I definitely want to check that one out.
Yeah. And like it's done now, so it's open and closed, and I can tell you it ends pretty strong. So it is a completed story. RJ Eagle says, Anthony, I think you need to revisit again as another featured guest. Many more questions to ask. There's nothing to stop you from just popping on and asking questions.
Yep.
If possible, can you share the name of that comic in the chat? I would like to pick that up. Sure. Like I said, somebody else will have to add it. It's Transformers by Brian Ruckley. Let me pull the wiki link up.
Actually, if you pull it up, and then I can also pin it into one of the comments, like after the stream's done.
Yeah. Here's the Transformers wiki page. Should I just put it in the stream channel? I'll just do that.
Yeah.
The private chat. There we go. So that is just the core series. Like I said, there were multiple mini series that would run alongside it sometimes. There's another called Galaxies. There was another called Escape. But yeah, just look at the wiki page there, and then actually, is there a page just for the continuity? Let me see. Brand new continuity. Oh, there we go. Hang on. 2019. Okay, here, yeah. This is more useful, actually. Go with this page. Let me just post this page in the chat. This is the whole continuity, because that tells you everything that was actually published, not just the main series. So that if you want to read the whole thing, that page there will just tell you everything. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to go read the whole comic. Yeah, I would probably just order them off eBay.
Yeah, so it was the 2019 comic, Galaxies, Escape, Wreckers, Treads, and Circuits, War's End, which was the finale, and also they did a Valentine special and a Halloween special. Yeah, and they were collected in these 6 volumes, and they tell you right here what's in each of them. So if you're not going to pick the volumes up, you can use this right here as a reading guide, basically. Like read these ones and then read these ones and these ones.
But you say the ones in hardcover are in order, though, right?
Yeah, like this chart right here that I've got pulled up. This is what's in each volume. In reading order. So, like, if you don't want to pick up the volumes, if you just want to track down the single issues or however you want to get them, that's the reading order right there.
Cool. Yeah, so I'll definitely pin that into the comment section.
Yeah, really worth reading. it's different. It's less. There is plenty of action, but it's a very thoughtful, like, world building science fictiony thing. You know, a little less Star Wars, a little more Star Trek, basically.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I like Trek more than Wars.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation. That's my go-to these days. I like More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light as well, but those were like part of an ongoing comics continuity that had already existed for like a decade before that. So those are maybe a bit more difficult to jump into, whereas this is like a self-contained thing. It's its own universe.
Cool. Well, as we wrap up for the evening, I ask, what do you have lined up for tomorrow's reviews?
Ooh. I have to wind up getting some more water. I'm parched after doing all that talking. I drained this bottle quickly. The Core RC I was talking about. First Rise of the Beasts figure. I don't know how many more I'll get, but this one was real nice. Took some photos, did a write-up. It'll be on Children of Primus under news and reviews tomorrow. See what a movie figure looks like before the movie comes out. Yeah, I don't usually do that, but like this was a core, so I was like, let me just check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Beyond that, maybe next week talk about Red Cheetor. Maybe talk about the first two mini Dinobots. Maybe talk about something completely unrelated. Whatever I feel like writing about.
Yeah.
I think about this stuff constantly, and so me writing these things down, it's not me being creative. It's me exercising things that are already in my head, getting them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's an exorcism of thought.
And I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Reggie Eagle says, I'm looking forward to that Core RC review before picking it up. Yeah, nice. Spoiler alert, it's a pretty good figure. So,
Anthony, with your vast knowledge of the different lines and everything, you seem to be looking forward to the Rise of the Beast movie a lot more than I think a lot of others are. Are you a fan of the Bayformer stuff, or is it just required reading for you?
well, I always have a soft spot for the first movie because, like I said, it brought me back into Transformers after being away from it. But I'm not a huge fan of them. My opinion of them has like gone down over the years. The first one's still the best. I think too. Like Bumblebee came out and sort of like reset what the floor for quality is for these things. So I'm like, they can be better these days. There's a lot of good ideas in them. There's a lot of raw creativity, but like a lot of the execution just leaves a lot to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some cool designs too, but like, you know, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think they're interesting, but they're not. I don't think they're not great overall.
Okay, I was wondering about that because yeah, you seem pretty excited over Rise of the Beast, probably because it has to do with Beast Wars and that's your jam.
Yeah.
But
That and it's a direct sequel to Bumblebee, so I'm kind of hoping they carry that relative quality of storytelling forward, you know, into something more ambitious. Because Bumblebee seemed to be like, all right, let's make a small, normal movie. Now I'm like, okay, now that you've done that, now take what you did there and make it into something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brad Ernsberger says, Beirut and TF and the Turtles. I hate him. I dispute that. That's the thing. I might not like those movies, but they brought the whole brand back. So many things these days we would not have if the Transformers movies didn't happen and bring tons of money and eyeballs towards it. We wouldn't be getting a Beast Wars revival, I guarantee.
well, that's kind of a point of view thing. I mean, yeah, okay, it's great. It's bringing your Beast Wars stuff back and everything, but I was, before 07, I was fine with there not being a whole lot of eyes on Transformers and, just being that guy who's into, the old,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? I was okay with it not being out in front of everyone because when the movie came out and the subsequent movies, I was embarrassed of it. I really was. I just so embarrassing. As a matter of fact, I almost got up twice in the first one to walk out. My ex-wife actually held me down, because I wanted to get up and walk out.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I can understand that point of view too. Also, well, I'm not a big Turtles guy. I generally liked the Michael Bay Turtles movies, outside of the designs, which were kind of weirdly busy. But I thought they were pretty good movies, so I dispute that. But also, I'm not a diehard fan, so maybe they have a different point of view than me.
I forgot that Michael Bay was associated
Yeah,
to
I think
those
he
recent
was.
Turtles
I
movies.
think he was just the producer. Like, I don't think he was even the director. But
No, it
just,
wasn't, but it definitely used the whole Bay aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of the same camera angles, a lot of the same panning shots. I mean, it was Bay.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed, because like my only other exposure to Turtles is the old movies, basically, right? Like I went straight from those to like the new ones. I was like, they got the characters and story probably more accurate than the Transformers movies did. Everybody was as I remember them being, and the setup was basically the same. So I was like, this seems all right. I'm talking about the Michael Bay Turtles movies. Yeah, I just watched Armageddon the other night. I'd never seen it before, and I was like, this is the cheesiest thing ever, but like in a fun way. I had fun with it.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a fun movie. It's
Yeah.
super cheesy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, to train astronauts who are already, super intelligent human beings, to drill something. I think it'd be a hell of a lot easier than teaching drillers how to be astronauts.
Yeah, there's a story I read where Ben Affleck said that to Michael Bay. He was like, "Why can't you just train astronauts to be drillers?" And Bay like literally told him, "Shut the f up," and then just kept going.
Wow.
Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck said it.
Yeah. Did I not say Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's getting in trouble.
Yep.
No,
This is where the views go up, because this is what everyone tunes in for.
That's it.
Okay.
So I want to say,
What you want to say?
I've watched this movie several times.
Yeah.
I grew up with this movie.
Armageddon?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want to come on
Yeah,
camera.
but like.
Okay. They do this whole thing where Bruce is like, if we're gonna get my oil team, I'm doing my oil team. It's gonna be my crew. And there's a montage of them going around and collecting his team. And every time, since I was a kid, I'm like, that's cool. Who's this other fucker? There's this other fucker who shows up at the table, Freddie Noonan. I was looking at it this morning when I couldn't sleep. He literally has maybe 2 lines attributed to him. He dies with no one knowing or caring. He has the stupidest memorial photo. He doesn't have a montage introducing him. He's just a motherfucker that shows up to the table that wants to like people to immigrate to America, no questions asked.
Yeah, I did think that was weird.
Yeah.
Talking about how there's one member of Bruce Willis's team who doesn't get a montage or introduction and is just there and then gone. And it's a very strange bit of writing and editing.
Like, Liv Taylor mentions him earlier in the movie, and she's like, I learned about the birds and the bees from one of his tattoos. She said his name, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, he's on the spaceship. I think it's the Independence is the one that Ben Affleck's on.
Yeah.
And his chair just gets blasted out. And you don't see him again. No one mentions him. There's a one-off line where Ben Affleck is like, yo, 2 of my friends died back there. And we're like, yeah. Owen Wilson and who?
Yeah.
And I was on a forum last night. You were passed out on the one couch, and I was there with a stomachache on the other couch, just like digging for this motherfucker.
Yeah, doing the research.
Yeah.
See, we do that. When we watch movies, we just do research afterwards.
There was this 2001 internet forum, and they're all like, oh, he's AJ's best friend. I'm like, where's the fucking proof of that, you digging for nothing bullshit?
I guarantee you.
That's not a thing.
Because it's already a long movie. I guarantee you that it was like some deleted stuff that they didn't bother like editing
Possibly.
around.
And then they were trying to attribute some of the stuff that he said and did to like Bruce Willis's partner Chick. And I was like, no, that's Chick, you dumb bitch. Like, you can watch the same movie. And then, yeah, I just like...
It's a Bay movie. Be glad you got a throwaway line about him afterwards.
He died, like, right away. He had no importance. He had no character. The only thing that happened with him was him being like, he wanted to get some women immigrated over, no questions asked. That was it. That was his whole role. Fucking Owen Wilson had more of a role, and he dies, like, the moment they hit the meteor, too. He's all like, I own horses and I'm spacey. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm like, good for you, Owen Wilson. I don't know.
It's a good movie.
Wow.
Everything that can go wrong does go wrong, and I forgot how many things go wrong for them. Oh, I was okay, listen, I just had a bath, so I have a towel in my hair, and I'm in pajamas, so that's why I'm not on screen. But I was thinking, like, all the people in Alberta must love this movie, because they were like, one day I'm going to be up there on a meteor, and I'm going to be drilling too.
Alberta is the Texas of Canada, literally, 100%. Let's...
And then also, I thought of something connected to the conspiracy theory about 9/11 also. Because at the very beginning of the movie, asteroids hit New York.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the asteroids do hit the Twin Towers.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and going,
and I'm like, okay. The Twin Towers don't come down, but they clearly have some dents and some fire to them.
Yeah.
I think, like, the Chrysler building got knocked down, right? But the Twin Towers are still standing. So I think this contributes to the fact that all the oil rigger Texas type that believe in Q, those sorts of people, I think that contributes to them being like the Twin Towers was an inside job, because if the meteorites from Armageddon could take down the towers... Because they think
Armageddon was scientifically accurate.
They're like, if the meteors can't take down the two towers, then obviously jet fuel cannot burn down steel beams.
So you're
at least a Bay movie finally got something scientifically right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
So she's a trip. So you're saying you believe that 9/11 truthers are the fault of Michael Bay's Armageddon?
Tell me I'm wrong. This is what I think about at work when I have nothing to do and I'm just dusting and cleaning glass. Nothing else to do, just dusting. Shit's so dirty there. There's no air circulation. I'm leaving now.
Bye, Jess.
Bye. No, but like, if you haven't seen that movie though, sorry. If you haven't seen Armageddon, do yourself like a treat. You have a treat, go watch it. Count all the time shit goes wrong for NASA. It's a lot. I'm like, I don't know how y'all are the smartest motherfuckers, and this happens. Also, Keith David, he caused 9/11, it's confirmed. Keith David's in this movie. He's wonderful in everything he's in.
Yeah.
He makes a dumb decision, and I'm like, bruh, that's a dumb decision. And then you never see him again. What happened to Keith David?
Well, a lot of Michael Bay movies are like that. As soon as a character's role is done, they just vanish.
Yeah.
Keith David's gone.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else. I'm really tired today. Yes, meow. That's true. Well, Liv Tyler's hot as hell in that movie. I guess that's another thing.
Liv Tyler's
I
hot,
like Billy
period.
Bob Thornton. He's in it. I forgot what the fuck else I was going to say. I was reading so much about this morning, but it was like 6 in the morning. I had such a stomach ache. Pepperoni, show them. Pepperoni. Pepperoni, go.
No, she walked away.
Yeah.
It's okay. She was on stream earlier.
Okay. I like that movie, but shit fucks up all the time for those.
Yeah, it is a everything Murphy's Law movie.
Oh. How does this meteorite that's going just through space have all these icicles and shit on it? It shouldn't.
Because it's really cold in space.
Yeah, but
it's
it's
only
going
cold
so
in
fast.
space.
How does it stay on?
I think I don't know enough about.
Like, I get that it's cold in space, but when stuff goes fast, it has heat, doesn't it?
No, not in space. It has heat because of the atmosphere.
How do the stalactite crystals form upwards, though? Shouldn't they be more like a hedgehog?
That's a good point, and that might be something they got wrong.
Also, fucking Dewey's in the movie at one point in an uncredited role. He's one of the kids that looks like he's from the 1950s.
What, from Scream?
No, Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh, and Michael Bay's like a scientist posing like a model at one point.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I have nothing else to add. But
April O'Neil's in that movie too.
Yeah,
she is. He was like April O'Neil's in that movie. We
yeah,
both
April
pointed that
O'Neil
out.
was in that movie. She was
Judith
the chick,
Hoag?
and she was all like, that man, don't worry about him. He's just a salesman. I'm like, what the fuck is this man saying? He just showed up in the middle of nowhere. Like, oh, how the fuck? They get taken away from the oil rig.
Yeah.
And they're gone for like 24 hours. How the fuck did all these people just be like, well, boss is gone. Let's all leave the oil rig too. And they all just like, they're all gone.
The power of montage.
Also, what's his name? Michael Clark?
Yeah, Michael Clark Duncan, I think.
Can never get his names in the right order. That's the movie that I know him from. I know a lot of people know him from Green Mile and stuff, but that's the movie I know him from. So my whole life I've always called him Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, watching the movie this time around, I'm pretty sure he's gay. And that would make sense for his nickname being Bear.
That's true.
Alright, I'm going to go for real now.
Good night, Jess.
Come with me. Thank you.
Man. He tore that apart like I tear my car movies apart, man. Damn.
It wasn't even like a tear apart. It's generally it's a movie she likes.
Yo, you can be
I like Gone in 60 Seconds too, but I don't know if I've ever torn it down that hard. Wow.
It's like when you watch a movie a lot, you start noticing things about it.
Yeah.
Like me with my 10,000 viewings of the 86 animated
Okay, this is a
Transformers.
different movie.
Yeah?
We saw that movie, was it 56?
65.
65. I'm dyslexic. We saw that movie last Tuesday because my brother invited us and was like, it's Adam Driver and dinosaurs. And I was like, alright, let's fucking do it. That movie was kind of boring.
Yeah, it was not good.
But if you like dinosaurs and you do see the movie, please tell me if you also think that this took place in prehistoric Alberta.
Yeah.
I know I'm bringing up Alberta a lot, but there's T-Rexes, and T-Rexes are normally found in that area, and south of Alberta, and there was a lot of fucking oil sands too. And we know there's oil sands in Alberta because they won't fucking stop.
Because it's the Texas of Canada.
Yeah. So I think that this movie took place in prehistoric Alberta, but every time I try to Google the 65 movie, it's just people being like, man, that movie sucked, and me being like, it was alright, it wasn't great. Like, don't
Is that
spend
the
your
new one
money
with Adam
on it if you
Driver?
see it's dreaming,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead. You know? Okay. Yeah, I know I came back, I'm leaving.
The important bit of context that I always bring up here is I'm on headphones, so Jess can never hear anything that you guys are saying.
I love
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
I would need better speakers if I was going to do this without headphones. I've tried. It's way too quiet.
Because I was thinking, okay, the reason I was critical about space and science now, which is what made me critical of 65, because I know about how the meteor affects the Earth as it comes crashing,
Yeah.
and they did all that wrong, and that's why I came back.
Yeah.
Because the meteors was in that movie too.
Yeah, if you couldn't hear, she'd say that she liked Armageddon, and now that she's older and knows more about science, now she notices all the bad science.
You fucking just cut off the other half of everything I said. You just skirted the other half of my statement of why I came back.
What was the other half?
Oh, you bitch.
What just
Because
happened?
Armageddon was about a fucking meteorite coming Earth. That made me think of 65.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
65 also had a fucking meteorite coming to Earth. And I was like, they did this all wrong. They should have died. They should have fucking died long before that thing hit the planet. That fucking thing was huge. There's a whole Puppet History episode on that. Go watch Puppet History.
Puppet History is a good show.
Watch Okay, it's Watcher on YouTube. It's the guys from BuzzFeed that did BuzzFeed Unsolved, and then they did Puppet History, and it's great. Watch it in order, because there's weird continuity about a genie, and there's singing puppets. If you like Muppets and history and adult humor,
Yeah,
then
no,
it's
it's highly recommended.
solid, okay? And the last episode that came out was about the asteroid coming down to kill all of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Okay? So I watched that, and then I was sitting there watching 65, and I was like, y'all should be dead. Okay, I'm gone for real, not coming back. Shut up.
Oh my. Oh my. Man.
I legitimately love hearing her thoughts on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Bach says she might be a cousin to my niece because she sounds like an adult version of my niece. Funny thing is, she does have a niece called Melina who is like her exact clone, but is really young. It's kind of eerie. Brad Earthworker says that was incredible. Yeah, I would love to have her on the show as a regular. That's not terribly feasible.
It's just as we call it, just a moment,
Just moments.
just a moment. Well, it's almost 11 p.m. our time.
Yep.
So another great stream, and and then an adjust moment included.
Mm-hmm.
And for everyone still watching, like, subscribe to our channel, and thank you for tuning in. Everyone that's come by, and Toy Warp, thank you for hanging out with us once again.
Absolutely. Always a blast.
Cool. Do you have any upcoming videos, or any videos upcoming, I should say?
Tuesday, I'm going to be releasing the very first Stomper playset video
Ooh.
on it.
Ooh.
That's 1980, very rare set. You'll find out when and if you watch the video on it. I'm back to doing regular stuff on the Cruisers Motorsports channel, and wow, that is just so much more work over there than it is for the toys. But it's worth it because the channel's decent. That one, I actually make money off that channel, so yeah, it's worth it.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, like, subscribe, Toy Warp 2. And yeah, always a blast to be on with you guys, especially when Jess joins. Oh my goodness. Damn.
We're gonna get banned from YouTube.
Yeah.
I've gone over the rules and everything that YouTube states. We won't get banned. You just be lucky if you ever get monetized. That's all.
Well, I always wonder, it's like, can you get monetized, but just say, okay, well, don't monetize that specific episode, but everything else is okay.
Yeah, you can choose what to monetize and what can't once you're monetized. But a lot of things, like if it has too much adult content, which nothing we said tonight has any adult content.
Yeah.
Right.
Too much adult content or too much swearing, it will be locked to 18 plus.
Okay.
It will, and the advertisements that go on it will be very, very limited.
Interesting. Okay.
But you've got a lot of channels out there where they say the F-bomb very frequently, and a lot of it's in the podcast form, and those guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So obviously, if it brings in the views, YouTube would be like, okay, we'll let it slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
as long as it brings in the views.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, thank you very much for having me on. I'll let you guys close it out, and hope to see you next week.
All right. Thank you for coming by once again.
Mm-hmm. And we end things where we started, with just two of us.
Yes. All right. So and until next week, which actually Bill will be our featured guest next week.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
Cool. Well, have a good evening, sir.
All right, you too, and continue to have fun, everybody out there. If it's not fun, don't do it. This should be fun. If there's one thing I want to get across to people, it's that.
Exactly.